Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show that absolutely positively is guaranteed not to cause gingivitis. Only on the Sports Box Network. Host of characters tonight, I am Hamilton Mike Galetta, along with Mike Velarde, Brian the Ranger Attard, Tony Quigley, and Anthony Morella. Some other hosts will be along occasionally through the night. This is the 2020 NFC Draft Grade Show. Gentlemen, how's everybody today?
Fantastic as always.
Living the dream.
Yeah, can't wait to get to the Philadelphia Eagles to get two guys in here, opinion, and the Cowboys. We will get to that shortly, but of course, Brian will brush you up on some other things.
Guys, welcome to the show tonight. Hey, listen, how about draft weekend? Record number of views, and not quite as much as the Super Bowl, but still a record number of views. Appreciate all the support. We had close to 11,000 total views in our draft shows. That is awesome. And that was the draft, not even counting the preview.
The NFL, I think, was up 37% off last year. Yeah, don't get used to that. It's just because nobody had anything to do.
They will absolutely take it. That's for sure.
I'm making a post. Hold on.
What are you posting? About the draft?
Nice hairdo, Ant.
Thanks. Need a haircut. Just had that like 5 minutes here.
So where do you want to start? I mean, I have my agenda.
We going alphabetically, or how do you want to do it?
We're gonna start in alphabetical order, starting with the division that's frankly most important to us. I mean, I'm sorry, most of us.
The NFC South?
No. We're gonna start with the NFC East and start on ranked there, and we're gonna start with America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And it started off with a bang, and the rest of it was pretty damn good. Anybody want to start on the Cowboys?
Well, let's let the Cowboys fans do it.
Yeah, I was going to say let the Cowboy guys take the floor.
I mean, talk about saving the best for last, Brian. You're going to start off with the Cowboys.
He loved the Cowboys draft.
Hey, Braden.
Yeah, so why don't you start, and then I could correct you.
Okay, well, that's fine. Well, so, hey, listen, obviously, CeeDee Lamb, 17th overall. You obviously had him higher than that. He should have gone higher than that. However, he wasn't really a need for the Cowboys. So, is it Zeke over Ramsey? No, I'm not going to go to that impact. I'm not going to say that. But I look at their receivers and I look at who else was there, and I say, did we really need to go this direction? And clearly, I didn't think that we need to go this direction. It's the same thing as Zeke. I'm not going to be upset that I have the player. I'm going to love the player. I already bought the T-shirt. But the point is, there were other needs.
What number is he?
That's all. So I'm going to take him back to his mother, and you can correct me.
Is he number 2?
Actually, it's kind of interesting about the CeeDee Lamb jersey number thing. I don't know if you guys heard or not. That they're actually talking. Jerry Jones wants him to wear 88 to honor his old Oklahoma teammate, and CeeDee Lamb is actually saying he wants to wear number 10. So we'll see how that shakes out. So if all the rookies' numbers kind of already came out yesterday, except Lamb, so no one really knows what he's going to wear.
Okay.
There, good, Brian, you're back.
The show just got uglier again.
So Brian T, what number is he wearing?
He wants to wear 10. Jerry wants him to wear 88. We're going to find
What number did you get?
whatever comes
Of course,
out.
Jerry has his hand in that too.
Whatever comes.
Yeah,
He already said the request out of Jerry Jones.
Unbelievable.
I'd be like, pay me a little bit more, and I'll wear whatever you want.
Listen, the first thing that came out your mouth, Brian, was that the wide receiver position wasn't a position in need for the Cowboys, and it actually was a position in need for the Cowboys. So right then and there, you crashed and burned. Why was it a need?
Yeah.
Randall Cobb, they have a huge.
Randall Cobb stinks.
Okay, who's playing slot? Okay, so who's playing slot receiver?
So I got to spend a first-round pick on a slot receiver?
Who's playing slot receiver?
Go find somebody. Who cares? That's not that important.
You got the best. Listen. That's absolutely ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous for what you said.
Is there any position in the first round that you're high on, Brian?
Say what?
Is there any position in the first round that you're high on?
Sure. Offensive line, defensive line, secondary, things that are more important that aren't reliant on everything else to be successful. So if you go back to Ramsey versus Zeke, Zeke is in a position that is A, easily replaceable, and B, you don't want to give a second contract to. That didn't work out. Jalen Ramsey's a stud. So
it's a little different though. It's a big difference because everybody knew Zeke was going to be there, Ramsey's going to be there, and they had their choice. You're talking about by far the best player available on the board still.
I understand that.
Now, what I said to you after the end of the first round is let's wait to see how this draft plays out because it was absolutely loaded on the back end with Cowboy needs, and they addressed their needs perfectly in this draft. So why don't you go out and you want to talk a little bit about on their draft entirely and instead of just having about wrongly
as anybody
every team in the damn league goes 3 wideouts, but we don't need a slot receiver. We don't need a third receiver. They play 3 wideouts
in a deep receiver draft. You're not going to convince me you couldn't have gotten one later. That's all. You could have got a player there. Again, if Clavon Chason was the other guy that we're considering, was there anybody like Clavon Chason available in round 2 and 3? I don't.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Listen, first of all, no one was comparing Chason to be neck and neck as the best defensive end in the draft. Nobody. Not one person said Clavon Chason could be the best. He was like the 5th or 6th defensive lineman at best. People were saying CD Lamb. Okay, could have been neck and neck, except I guess on the Raiders draft board as the number 1 receiver in the draft. No one even came close to saying that to Chason. Chason was mocked anywhere from mid to late, mid first to mid second. That's where his range was. And you've seen how so many people came up and got needs full-heartedly. So they had an opportunity to grab who a lot of people said was the best receiver in the draft at 17. Okay, it's not like Chase Young or somebody else fell and they were like, oh, well, we don't need the best. They took the best player. And then they followed it up, knocking it out of the park in the rest of the draft.
I'm not disputing anything they did on day 2 on. I loved every pick. There was nothing I really had any problems with. What I'm saying is, listen, I understand it. I understand he was not supposed to be there, and they stay true to their board. But at the same time, you're putting a lot of resources into this one position. Now, having said that, in 2 years, they walked from Cooper. I get it. But it wasn't the biggest need they had. I like you to go fill that big need for me. That's just how I prefer my teams to draft. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about that before the draft, and it doesn't seem like you're realizing the difference between best player available the top players in the draft.
That's fine. I have a disagreement with you on that. Again, if the best player,
I wish we did this during the Randy Moss draft, and you could have flamed out on that one.
That's fine.
Greg Ellis, he's a listen. Greg Ellis is solid in the time he was with the Cowboys, but it's Randy friggin' Moss.
CD Lamb's going to be a good player for them. The quarterback's a problem, but that's.
And I want to jump in here just for the one pick. I think that Cowboys are victims of circumstances. Can I go back to the kind of the Bucs draft that they had a couple years ago at the 19 slot? They had a guy picked out. I believe they had a secondary guy picked out. But when O.J. Howard fell to them, all plans changed. And I kind of think it worked out well for the Cowboys. Maybe in the first round, they weren't looking wide receiver because of the Cooper signing. But when a guy like CeeDee Lamb falls all the way to your spot, how do you pass him over, I think is what the Cowboys said. And they're going to make it work. I don't know if down the road they were going to take any more wideouts if they plan to. But like I said, when CeeDee Lamb got there, I think eyes just perked up for the Cowboys and said, we got to take this. Let's make it work.
And maybe they look back at Moss and say, we're not letting this happen again. And that's fine. I get it. It wasn't their big need. I want to go to Ant and Mike because they haven't been talking this whole time.
Mike, you want to go?
I was kind of following this morning, and Ryan Clark made a good point. I don't know if anybody watched this morning. Ryan Clark made a good point, and he said he probably wouldn't have went this route, but he said that his whole argument was he thinks that the Eagles are still the team to beat in the NFC, just for one reason only. The Cowboys didn't have a problem scoring this year. The problem was their defense. So you add a guy like CeeDee Lamb to the mix, they might still score 28 to 30 points a game. But who are they going to be able to stop anybody? They couldn't stop the Eagles last year Amari Cooper kind of tanked it in the last game of the year, but more or less they couldn't stop a team that didn't have a 500-yard receiver. And now you add Darius Slay in the mix and a couple other guys. The Eagles had a pretty decent draft, and we'll get to that. But, I don't think that they had a problem with the pick of CeeDee Lamb, but did they add enough guys defensively and you have some questionable free agents that they added, Alden Smith and the guys that you really don't know what they're going to bring to your team. Are they going to stay healthy? Are they going to have drug lapses during the year or whatever the hell was going to happen with these guys? What's going to happen during the year?
Yeah, but Mike, I mean, you have a valid point, but if we can't analyze just that one pick and not address everything else in the draft because they filled their needs. Not like they could have.
Diggs was a good pick. Diggs was a good pick, I think, and the defensive tackle Gallimore was good. I think that they had a really good draft as far as grade wise. I gave them a good grade. I'm just saying. I think that they really had to make that pick. I agree with you, Tony. I'm just saying. I think that some people look at it as, oh, well, they really should have went defense there, but did the rest of their draft make them better on defense rather than taking that wide receiver that they kind of really didn't need in the first round? It's kind of the same thing with the Eagles, and we'll get to them with their second round pick.
Well, yeah, but no, the rest of their draft absolutely made them better on the defensive side. I mean, they took Diggs and they took Robinson, were two corners that absolutely fit their scheme perfectly. Good size, press corner. Diggs is more immediate impact. He has an NFL pedigree with his brother Stephon. Gallimore, Diggs and Gallimore both were talked about as being end of their first round picks. Okay, and I don't know if you guys remember during the draft coverage too. The defensive end that they got, Brendan and I, from Utah, I was saying, listen, in the third round, I'd love to get this kid. But then Gallimore's, and the kid falls to the fifth round. So it seemed like the Dallas, a lot of things just fell perfectly for Dallas. And here's the other thing, too. We're talking about, if you look at San Fran and what they did getting Trent Williams, you got to include Trent Williams' draft. There is a lot of smoke coming out that the Cowboys are going to sign Everson Griffin. If they sign Everson Griffin, that just makes the CeeDee Lamb pick even better. Mm-hmm. Because you're injecting a defensive end in there that doesn't have the headaches but has all the talent.
But that's the thing right now, right? We look at what Robert Quinn did last year. Robert Quinn's in Chicago, had a great year going opposite Lawrence. Lawrence was double teamed, could not really get a whole lot, but he did draw coverage that way, so that was allowed the other end to get there. It's either an A, Alden Smith, or Randy Gregory. That's not really confidence inspiring. So I'm going to love CeeDee Lamb. I give the Cowboys an A because everything else they hit out of the park. And they were a victim. They were the team that they waited and they took the guys that fell. I happen to love their draft. I'm going to love CeeDee Lamb, but it wasn't a need that I felt you had to put that resource in. Having said that, Cooper's probably gone in 2 years. Ant, I didn't really go to you on this.
No, that's fine. I think Nick kind of touched on it earlier. You have Gallup and you have Cooper. You got to kind of grade it out and project it down the road. It's not just about this year. I think Lamb can be every bit as good as Cooper down the road, and I think Lamb can be better than Michael Gallup. So if you take that, you don't have to pay Gallup, and you don't have to keep Cooper. If that's how you project this out, I think Lamb I would have gone bananas if the Eagles were able to get him. I think the Cowboys did a marvelous job being able to, have the balls to pull the trigger there. And listen, he's going to haunt the Eagles for years to come. It is what it is. Unfortunately, as an Eagles fan, but they have to take best player available there. Like I said, you're projecting this out down the road. You see Cooper's got big money. You're going to have to pay Gallup. Maybe you think Lamb is going to be better than both of them down the road. Who knows? But I thought it was a home run for Jerry for sure.
Yeah, I think I have to give it to the Cowboys too. I think I give them an A for the draft. CeeDee Lamb pick kind of fell in their lap, but they still made the pick, so I like it. And Tony hit on the best when they said like Mike said, they addressed needs that they had on defense. I mean, they picked up two corners in Diggs and Robinson, and then they picked up a defensive tackle in Gallimore. I think slide right into that system, and 2 out of the 3 at least could play now. So that's something that you really look for in the draft. You look at guys that could do something now, but even on the back end with Anaya and even DiNucci, I mean, they drafted a quarterback. Okay, you pick up a quarterback late, whatever. Might not make the team, might not play, but even so, you're addressing needs that they're looking for, not just best available. I give the Cowboys an A.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. So do I. Fantastic.
I will say this: it is setting up Dak Prescott to be like, listen, if you can't succeed with this around you, we're not going to pay you.
I was going to say that. I mean, he goes from being, as you call it, an average quarterback to, listen, if you can't succeed with these weapons, you got an issue.
Yep, gave him weapons. Definitely gave him weapons.
So yeah, I mean, I think University they were given a great grade by pretty much everybody. So
And a couple comments too, Brian, I came across that make a lot of point too. I mean, this could be a setup for Gallup too. Gallup is maybe could make big money next year. So here's a guy in CeeDee Lamb where just take over that spot if they don't want to get rid of Gallup for some reason.
Absolutely.
Next up in the NFC East is the New York Football Giants. Start off with a bang at 4 with Thomas the tackle.
Alphabetically, you're off, man.
No, I am not. Welcome DNPW.
C and E. The way I go. Cowboys, Eagles.
DNPW.
Oof.
Dallas, New York, Philadelphia, Washington.
Nah, I go C, E, G. That's all good. All you.
And
you run the show, guys.
The New York
Let's go
Giants,
15 minutes in. We're talking alphabetically.
They went with a tackle at 4. Not that was a big surprise, but I think that it wasn't necessarily the tackle people thought they would go with Thomas at 4th overall. Your take on their draft?
No, I actually thought that was the right pick. I thought he's probably the safest tackle on the board. Played a lot of left tackle, obviously at a high level in the SEC. So faced a lot of good competition. They needed that, obviously, with Daniel Jones, and he protects him and be able to open up lanes for Barkley. I thought that was a really safe pick. That's what I had mocked. I had him mocked to the Giants, and I thought McKinney in the second round was a home run too. Big time safety, kind of fills Landon Collins' old shoes, so to speak. I thought I honestly, Shane Lemieux in the I think 4th or 5th round was, I thought, a great pick. Another guy that could potentially start down the road for them inside. So I thought they had another good draft. And the kid Matt Pert from UConn, guy that was close to home, they did a lot of scouting on him. So can't complain with the Giants. Unfortunately, a lot of the NFC's got better this week.
Apparently, Dave Gettleman's been in charge of 8 drafts, and he's traded down 0 times.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what a lot of the people were calling for, was for him to trade out of that spot. But apparently, he doesn't do that a lot. So I think that he made the right pick with Andrew Thomas there. Apparently they wanted a true left tackle there, and Wirfs and a lot of the other guys were right tackles that they wanted to make into left tackles, and I think they wanted a true left tackle there.
Correct.
To protect Jones. So I think that was a good pick for them there. And getting McKinney at 36, I don't think that they thought he was going to be there. And for him to slide that far, I don't know if it raises questions, but I think that was a steal for them to get in there. And like Ant said, for them to get a lot of depth with their next 3 picks was good. So I had them with like a B plus maybe for a grade. They did well.
Yeah, I think the Giants had some good moves. Would be that first pick with Andrew Thomas kind of shocked me a little bit. I thought Wirfs and Wills would go in that spot maybe before him, but still they got a good quality offensive tackle that they needed to keep their quarterback upright. And I love the McKinney pick. I'm seeing more and more in the draft. I get more love with cornerbacks all the time, I guess, because my team hasn't had him for years. But no, I like the Xavier McKinney pick. Again, they're moving the needle on defense for the Giants, and that's something they desperately need. Picked up a cornerback in the 4th round, 3 linebackers, actually 4 linebackers, and another cornerback. I mean, they were really going defense this year and really addressing needs, really weren't going best available player, which some teams can go best available player, but I think the Giants really had to specify on what they needed, and defense was the way to go. I give the Giants a B.
Yeah.
The NFC East definitely got better, as you guys mentioned, and I think the Giants are a big part of it.
Yep.
You guys already touched on the offensive line that they did. I think their first 6 picks actually were pretty much knocked out the park. I mean, the Thomas over Wirfs and everything like that might be a debate that they might, wind up regretting. But with Pert and Lemieux, solidifying a young offensive line, and Pert could eventually work into that starting lineup. But Darnay Holmes on the end, and Brown, the outside linebacker from Penn State, is a nice addition for them as well. The thing that keeps me from really giving them an A is they got no weapons. No offensive weapons.
Yeah.
I think they should at least address that one or two picks in the later half of the round. Like I said, they had six picks, early. They really did a great job, but then what do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4 7th round picks.
Yeah.
Not really got too much of an offensive weapon. I mean,
sevens, yeah. All defense.
Besides Barkley, who do you have on offense that's going to scare you? Evan Ingram can't stay healthy.
I think they like Darius Slayton, but I mean, again, he's just a guy. He's not,
Slayton, yeah. Who's the kid who got hurt too? I mean, Sterling Shepard.
Yep.
They still have Golden Tate.
Yeah, because he didn't want to go to a winner, but he signed there. He wanted to go to a winner, but he signed there for.
I don't know if he's on a 1 or 2 year deal, but I mean, still, there's a guy. Yeah, I mean, it can do something.
Yeah. So that's So I'd have them in like the B+ range because I really like what they did because you could actually see they have a game plan. But I'm going to get them down to a B because they did not add another weapon when they really should have.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I have him as a B for that exact reason. I just kind of figured that there was going to be some attempt, not just to address the offensive line, but get something else around there. Maybe even another tight end to go opposite Evan Ingram. They didn't really do any of that. It's a good draft, don't get me wrong, and they did improve themselves. If you think back to a year ago, the question was, could they improve their offensive line? Because they have to. They need to make holes for Barkley. They need to protect their investment in Danny Dimes. I mean, I think the other thing, too, is they were mocked by almost by everybody that Isaiah Simmons was going here. And they had a need at linebacker. They did address it later on. I don't know how that's necessarily going to turn out. I was surprised that they went offensive tackle 2 of their first 3 picks. I think their best pick is Xavier McKinney. I think you guys said it. For a guy who was supposed to be a first-round pick at a position of need, how can you not? That's great for them that he fell where he fell. I like him in that B range as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, since we're going in alphabetical order, since Mike missed it, is the Philadelphia Eagles. And the story here, which is unique, is it's really not their first-round pick that's making headlines. It's their second-round pick.
Keep sharp objects away from Mike.
I'm all right now. I took it all in. I'm good.
Good.
I'm going to read
Change it.
No, you can't change it.
It took a few phone calls between Mike and I to get this settled.
Yeah.
I don't understand why everybody's saying they had a terrible draft. I don't get it. Especially if you're not an Eagles, especially if you're not an Eagles fan, I don't get it.
All yours.
Go ahead, Mike.
No. First of all, so let's talk about their first round pick, Rager. Okay. Why is it such a reach to take a wide receiver just because he went to TCU? Just because he ran a 4.48 40, but he was clocked at a 4.2 something 40 at his pro day? Maybe he ran a bad 40 at the combine. I don't understand. No, because everybody's worried about the second round pick. That's why they had a terrible draft. Am I wrong for saying that?
No, you're exactly right. That's the reason. That's
right. And all the picks after that. The safety from Clemson was probably their best pick. The safety from Clemson is probably their best pick.
Yeah. I'll jump in. I agree. I mean, the Rager pick, Mike, I think people were kind of down on him. I'm not down on it. I was saying I like the kid. He had a good combine. He kind of boosted himself a little bit. The thing I think people get bent about is that he wasn't the best wide receiver at the time. They thought Justin Jefferson should go there, and that's the reason why.
He's not.
I'm just saying. The
Eagles needed. He's a slot receiver.
Well, from my standpoint, Rager is a risk reward guy. He could blow it up for you and be that guy, or he could fizzle out. I think he's more on the upside than he is the downside, and I think he'll be fine where he's going to be, where they're going to put him. The Jalen Hurts pick. I mean, we went through this constantly. That not only is it a bad need pick because there was no need to take a quarterback. I mean, you want to do it later on in the draft. I got no problem in that. But to take him at the second round, where there's another guy and maybe another cornerback or even a linebacker, that's a bigger need for this Eagles team. I think that would have made more sense to do that than take a guy like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a very good player. It's just he's coming to a bad situation where I don't think he's replacing Wentz anytime soon unless something catastrophic happens to him. But I do agree with you, Kayvon Wallace. I like that pick from Clemson. I mean, here's a kid that can really play from a school like Clemson. That, when's the last time the Eagles picked somebody from Clemson? Anybody know that?
I don't
Assuming.
know.
Brian
He
Dawkins.
won Brian Dawkins. So,
Yeah.
it comes with a school that they've come to have, good talent with. So I give the Eagles a C on their C plus on their draft. It was a good draft at the back end of it. At the front end of it, there are some question marks. I think the Jalen Hurts thing hurts the pun, because that's the second round. They could have got him in the third or fourth. Whole different ball game. I think they could have got a B plus A.
They wouldn't have got him in the fourth round. He wasn't getting past 75 or 80. So, and
You're probably right. You're probably right.
Start off and we'll piggyback each other. So go ahead.
All right. When we start, I'll start with Rager, who I thought was a decent pick. I'm not like jumping out of my seat by any means for him. I think he's going to fit exactly what the Eagles will need and a number one receiver down the road. I think they had Jefferson and Rager rated pretty similarly. They went with the guy with a little bit more speed, who's probably a little bit more versatile as well in terms of where he lines up. So I think the first round pick was okay. It was probably a D. Hurts is my favorite pick of the draft for many reasons. One, I think, and a lot of people may disagree, but I do think he challenges Wentz. I think he comes in this year and, listen, we'll see what Wentz is made of this year with a guy like Hurts breathing down his neck. I think he's perfect for what the Eagles want to run down the road. I think the offense had a lot of problems with Wentz. People are going to hammer me for this, but maybe he's just not what we thought he was when they took him number 2 overall. And I think that, and how he said it, and this is very convincing to me. He said he didn't want to make the same mistake they made when they passed on Russell Wilson and they waited too long in 2012. To me, you don't care about Russell Wilson, 2.0 or whatever you want to consider Hurts, if you have the guy on your team that you believe in already. So that was very telling to me. I think that, in a year or two, you're going to see Jalen Hurts take over the starting spot here in Philadelphia. So we'll see what happens with Wentz. We'll see what he does this year and if he stays healthy. And nobody's going to be upset with this pick if Wentz leads us to a Super Bowl this year, as unlikely as it probably is. But again, I think Hurts does everything that the Eagles really want moving forward.
Do you is he going to be the starter because Wentz gets hurt, or is he going to be the starter because he just?
I don't think the offense is that good under Wentz. I think it flounders more than it's elite for sure. This offense has never been elite with Wentz, aside from 2017. Not really sure what happened since then. It's basically the same stable of weapons he's had. Maybe they got worse. Who knows? But I don't think that offense has ever taken the next step. Some might call it coaching. Some may blame it on Wentz. I think it's squarely on Wentz's shoulders, and execution is a big thing in the NFL. If you can't execute, you can't. He hasn't ever really been extremely accurate. Fumbles a lot, takes a lot of sacks, holds the ball a little bit too long, and I think Hurts is what Doug and Howie really want moving forward.
I'm going to add one more thing before you guys talk.
Yeah.
Me and Ant talked on the phone yesterday, and not that you were swaying my opinion or what, but I told you I had no problem with the pick itself. I had a little bit of a problem at 53. I thought maybe they could have traded pick 103 and got down to 80 or 75 and took it there, and that might have been a little bit better. My opinion of Wentz is, yes, he does get hurt, but when he misses the screen pass or he overthrows somebody 10 yards away, it reminds me of McNabb a little bit. And the things we used to get pissed off with McNabb about. And when he comes off the field clapping and doing the things, it just, I don't know. I don't know if management and staff is getting pissed with him. And like I said, when Foles was here, did that light a fire under Wentz a little bit? Did he get complacent last year when he knew Sudfeld wasn't going to take his job from him because he stinks too? You know what I mean? Do they want to put that fire back under him? Like, hey, man, we brought somebody in to challenge you a little bit, and if you're not, we'll bring somebody else in if we need to. I don't really think they're going to do that to your a person who's making that much money, and they're going to take him out. But listen, if they're going to put this guy on the field 8 to 10 times a game and run packages for him, I don't really think that they're going to. Like me and Brian were talking about it too today. A person who is going to make $77 million in dead cat money, you're going to trade him or release the guy. So I don't know what they're planning for him or what's going to happen. We'll see. But to say that the draft was a failure is ridiculous because they got some good players in the draft.
Well, let's real quick before we even move any more forward on who we took after that. Another thing that Howie said today, which was really revealing, was he had the conversation with Carson when they were making the pick, and they asked him what it was like. He goes, "Well, it was uncomfortable." Well, obviously, you're drafting his replacement. I think they firmly believe in this kid. They wouldn't have taken him that high if they didn't. Nobody can convince me otherwise. I think in 1 to 2 years, we saw this, Brian. The Eagles are going to be in cap hell next year. There's no better way than to maybe move on from the guy that is going to make the most money on the team. So we'll see. But who has other thoughts?
And yeah, real quick, let me ask the Eagles guys this: that in 2 years, say Jalen Hurts, molds into the guy you want him to be, and then you try to trade Carson at 29. Do you think that it's going to be an easy move trying to trade that contract? I mean, that's a lot of money to dump on a team.
Well, look what Brian put up what Chris just put.
Good.
I said put up what Wilhelm just put on the screen.
Oh, trade Carson. Oh, yeah, 8.5.
You see, but this is where I just disagree with everybody. Okay, this is like a politician fixing their own mistake. It doesn't matter. You don't do this a year after signing this deal.
No, we're not saying that. We're just saying that this is a situation now that they're in.
But Brian,
by drafting him, drafting Hurts.
That's a self-inflicted wound.
They have no choice.
What do you mean they have?
Right.
They didn't have a choice.
It's a shame Hurts has his moment in the NFL, and they ask him what he's going to do, and he doesn't even know.
So in my opinion, and again, that's all this is. This is a very, very expensive insurance policy with upside. Number one, it is true. He has not finished the year the last couple of years. Right. They want someone cheap. You mentioned your salary cap. Cheap that they can control for a long period of time, who will know their offense in and out, not have backups change year in, year out. If something happens, they're covered. He walks in one day and says, you know what? I think I'm done here. I'm going to be Andrew Luck. My back hurts. I have all this money. I'm going to walk away. Insurance policy. You're covered. They seem to believe, and this is the big thing around the NFL right now, is the second most important player on your team behind the quarterback is the backup quarterback. I don't believe that for a second. In Philadelphia, for whatever reason, it kind of looks that way.
It says actually the second most popular, but
the most important. No. Jimmy Johnson apparently said that. Somebody else said that. Second most important player is the backup quarterback, because if your quarterback goes down, you have to have continuity. And they have not had that much continuity, the backup quarterback position. They are ensuring a bunch of different things. Also, fast forward 4 years. If none of this comes to fruition, he goes, you can probably assume you're going to get at least a second-round pick you put into it. So it's not going to cost you anything net. You get a cheap guy for 4 years. If your attempt is to tell me that something happened last year that changed their mind from the year before, that they knew they're going to move away, you just don't sign them. You get your option.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they kind of hedged their bet, so to speak. So they had his 2017 on record and his 2018. 2018 obviously ended with him being injured again. They had to sign him because if he goes back to 2017 Carson Wentz, then they're calling their pants down. They have to give him huge money.
Yeah, didn't they sign to the biggest, richest deal that a quarterback ever signed when he signed it?
No, they gave him the most guaranteed money, apparently.
Okay, so you're telling me the most guaranteed money would not have mattered. We fast forward a year. Like, that's the difference? Because here's the difference. Chris, tell me $9 million dead cap. Was there $9 million additional dollars a year he was going to get? Probably not. I mean, the market hasn't gone up that much. If Prescott can't get 35 and Wentz
he's going to get the most.
32?
He'll get the most.
36 for $4 million a year. Now it's 9 and dead. I don't foresee that to be the likely scenario. Again, okay. I think Wentz is here long term. I think if he decides to walk away, have a career-ending injury or a season-ending injury, this is a very expensive insurance policy that they like the player. They like him better than any other quarterback in the draft, clearly at that spot. If they develop him like the quarterback factory, which was the dumbest line of the offseason, they can trade him for value. Probably.
How does he keep his mouth shut with stuff like that?
It was dumb.
I want Quigley
is a top 10 quarterback in this league, and if they move on from him, not only are you giving up on the sunk cost,
barely top 10
to move up, well, top 10. all those picks to move up to go get him, you're either wrong there or you're wrong and you wasted your second round draft pick. For me, I'm going to give it to Quigley here. I would much rather use that pick to augment the team that I have to make my current quarterback more successful, not attempt to draft his backup policy or replacement, if even that's the direction that they go. I think that that's a 7 steps down the road that I don't see them going to. However, what they've helped themselves is if Carson has a bad year or two, again, you need to kind of get the fans on your. If they traded Wentz tomorrow, everything it's nuclear winter in Philadelphia. If he struggles, you can then get the people on your side to make a move, and you have the backup policy. So now it's not you're caught with your pants down. To your point, I don't foresee that being the issue personally. And the last thing I'll say before I give it to Quigley is if you believe, and I'm not disputing, you know more Eagles football than anybody that I know. If the offense they are running does not fit the strengths of their quarterback, then change the offense, not the quarterback, after you've committed the money. That's all I've said.
Okay, fair enough.
Yours.
To piggyback on that real quick, Brian, because I'm really not going to jump on the Hurts conversation too often, but I'm going to go back to Rager. But to piggyback on that, the offense changed when Frank Wright left. Offense changes because Wentz is a different player. So the offense itself and Wentz, it doesn't seem to be a great fit. But with that being said, Jalen Hurts doesn't do anything better than Wentz compared to that offense. So that offense succeeded with Nick Foles. And Nick Foles is not the type of quarterback as Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz. So how that offense runs and everything like that is yet to be seen. Now, I want to go back to the Rager pick because when that was picked, a lot of people were bashing it. He's slow. He's this or that, blah, blah, blah. It showed a lot of education and a lot of miseducation that these people don't know who a receiver from TCU is and just regurgitating nonsense that they see from a talking head somewhere else besides us. Mm-hmm. Listen, I've been watching Jalen Rager for a while down in TCU. When he was picked, I said he isn't a bad pick. When you look at him, brass taxes, he's the second fastest player in the draft. All right. His on-ball, he didn't run a great 40 time and everything like that, but he still ran a respectable 40 time. Mm-hmm. He has elite athleticism. If you look at his combine numbers across the board, his athleticism is elite. Not good, it's elite. Mm-hmm. So you take all that stuff into factor. His size, he's small. Listen, and here's the guy, and, I don't want to really compare him like that because it's a lot of first-round pick. He reminds me a lot of the potential to be of Antonio Brown. His physical factor and his attributes and everything besides his mental capacity is very, very similar. So if they can get him the ball, his hands are suspect as hell. Listen, they have to get him the ball. What he was he was fielding shit in the field, at TCU. They were, it's completely different. So when he develops with Wentz, I think people should really not harp on that whole, we didn't take Justin Jefferson, because they probably saw Jefferson play for two games, maybe one game, half these people that are criticizing the pick, when they're comparing the Rager. So I'm fine with the Rager pick. Jalen Hurts pick, here's what I'm going to say with that. Should he have been taken from the Eagles at the second round? No, not at all. The other and you want to tell me that he's an insurance policy? Guess what? Do we know Jalen Hurts can play in the NFL at quarterback? No, we don't. It's not like they signed a player with a history that has a track record that could actually be an insurance policy. And at 53, way too early. But you know what? That's something that you guys are going to have to live with and make it up. Now, the rest of the Eagles draft, I know, Brian, you don't have the rest of the draft up there. Yep. Davion Taylor, nice player. It's going to be interesting to see if he moves to safety. He is small, but he is an athlete, and he's like he's one of the players you have a ball of clay, and you're just going to be able to mold and try to see what he can do as far as athleticism. You guys are really high on Kayvon Wallace. I'm not as high on him. He is nothing more than, at best, a nickel and dime slot coverage. He's not a true safety in NFL. He's way too small. He's going to get manhandled that position. Driscoll and Prince Tenga want to go at the tackle spot. Fine. You got two studs from Auburn. The player that I really like, and the two players are the 6th-round pick. I really think they knocked it out the park on the 6th-round pick. All right. I know, Brian, you don't have them up there. But
I can only fit so many. I got it. Sean Bradley.
Yeah, I got you. So you got the linebacker from Sean Bradley is an absolute beast. The kid flies around, makes tackles everywhere. He is going to be a very, very good player. Now, Quez Watkins, all right, talk about speed. He kind of really just went way too low for what his speed is. So and then they get Godwin. So they have speed all over the place now. It would have been nice if they did take somebody a little bit more complimentary, because I don't know what Alshon Jeffrey is going to be there. But all in all, I think the Eagles had a very good draft. And Tram, I don't know what you mean. I'm turning on you, but so
he said you're turning them on. Different.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Saying so much correct stuff, he's getting very excited in his pants.
Listen, that's why we turn on. But
I'm going to touch on Trammell's. He made a point about Wentz getting this Eagles team to the playoffs last year. One, the division was terrible, as we all know. Two, they didn't beat anybody good other than Dallas, and Dallas laid a complete egg. And they scored 17 points. They scored 7 points after that 10-point first quarter. It's not like he was beating the Packers, the Niners, and the Seahawks to get there. I mean, I'm not going crazy about that last 4 games there.
What I'll say is this. Before we move on to the next team. By the way, any other points before I make my final point? Anybody? No? Okay.
Yeah.
The hate on Rieger is that he's not CeeDee Lamb, and the consensus was not. It wasn't if they were going to trade up, but how high. Everybody said they were going to be aggressive, and that did not materialize.
Hold on, real quick, Brian. They beat Green Bay and Lambeau because Carson's 170 yards passing and 200 yards rushing. That's why
the pass interference in the end zone didn't call.
Exactly.
That's
I'm sorry, Brian.
About it. Again, there's hate on Rieger because he's not CeeDee Lamb, and the anticipation was they were going to go trade up. The part where they lose me on that, and it's Rager's fine. I'm not worried about Rieger. If the difference between getting Lamb and getting Rieger is Jalen Hurts, that's a loss. That is capital.
Tells me they really wanted Hurts. If that's
I'm going to question their judgment.
They didn't want to trade 53. They knew that they wanted him there.
Okay, I'm questioning the judgment.
That's why they didn't trade 53, because they wanted him.
Let me ask you guys this before we jump off the Eagles. Are you guys, because of the Eagles fans, are you guys supremely confident Jalen Hurts steps in and is a good NFL quarterback?
I am. Yeah, I was pretty high on him going into the draft. A lot of people can back me up on that. But yeah, I thought he was number 2 in the draft behind Burrow. And I think if he plays at Oklahoma for 2 to 3 years, just say hypothetically, I think he's a top 5 pick.
Well, see, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that a little bit. I think your reasoning is correct, but the player he was at at Alabama, his freshman and sophomore year, no way was he prepared to start or play at Oklahoma for that entire time. He could have been a little bit more developed and everything like that. I think the adversity he went through at Alabama and every coach, Saban, and oh my God, I'm fucking. Was that
Lincoln Riley you're talking about at Oklahoma?
Lincoln Riley, yeah, exactly. He was only talking about the Cowboys, going drafting, picking him for how many years. But they've been really praising him. So there's a lot of intangibles to like about him. But I don't know talent-wise if he could get it done. And to be so confident to burn the 53 pick on a guy who probably isn't going to play for a couple of years. In best case scenario.
If you could trade that pick to move up to get a receiver, I think it would have been because then a guy plays now. I mean, Jalen Hurts isn't going to play now. He's going to be. It's almost like you wasted the pick. Not wasted it, but it's like you're sitting the bench this year because he's not going to play unless Carson gets hurt. So why not at number 2 make it count and get Carson a receiver, and move up and get a guy like CD, or not CD Lamb, but what I'm talking about, another receiver.
All right, I want to pose this to you guys then. Okay, so what was it? 4 or 5 years ago, you have Carson Wentz coming out of North Dakota State as a number 2 pick at like I said, FCS school. What makes him ready to be a first-year starter in the NFL out of an FCS school? He's playing Eastern Washington.
No, but he did.
Does that make him a starting quarterback in the NFL?
He did a lot of things at an FCS level at North Dakota State that a lot of teams in the NFL do. A lot of pre-snap reads and so on and so forth. that offense was actually somewhat NFL-like.
What I'm saying is, though, is a lot of people base the competition that you play
Yeah, of course.
on if NFL readiness. Okay?
All right.
Everybody's saying that Hurts playing at Alabama, Oklahoma, playing in national championships as a freshman, sophomore, being
Here's the
ready.
difference, Mike. Eagles were not a NFC East defending champions. They weren't. They haven't been to the Super Bowl. They're not a team. They were not a team that are going to be competing next year. Okay. When they drafted Wentz, it's a rebuilding. You go out there, you let them play. If Jalen Hurts was the number 2 pick instead of Wentz a few years ago, the same exact player, I understand it. I wouldn't have a problem with it. That's the guy that they like. That's who they want to build with.
Yep.
Just like the 2 in the Miami stuff. But as you see in Green Bay and here, you have a team that is ready to play, who's already winning. You have guys in that locker room that expect to go out and compete this year, and win and fight for an NFC title to go to the Super Bowl. They've been there, so it's a completely different situation.
Well,
Yeah,
let's see how it plays out this year. They might put him in for 10. I don't know how they're going to use him. But
Worst case scenario for Eagles fans is Jalen Hurts plays. If you're an Eagles fan, you don't want to see Hurts on the field at all because in that case, Wentz is doing what he's supposed to do when he's balling out.
And again, what message do you give the other 52 guys other than Wentz? It's like, we don't want to help you with the pick. They had an opportunity to fill a need.
Dude, they did. They drafted 3 wide receivers. I mean, what didn't they help them with? They got the best team speed in the NFL right now, just from the draft almost.
They have a track team, that's for sure.
Yeah, but again, they didn't address anything at corner. They added the safety. I don't know if Wallace could play.
Who do they don't draft that's better than Darius Slay?
That's one side. Who the hell's on the other side?
Jalen Mills, same as last year. They still won the East.
That's not really confidence.
It's probably going to be Maddox.
Mills plays inside, right? Mills plays side. He's safe safety.
You play safety, bro.
I gave him a C. I gave him a C because, again, I have no problem with Rager. Rager to Jefferson is a preference pick. Don't care. I'm of the belief that the difference between Lamb and Rager Jefferson ended up being Jalen Hurts. And if that's the equation, I think that's a loss. I don't mind the rest of their draft. It's no matter what happens 10, 15 years from now, this could be the Jalen Hurts draft. When the pick is your second round pick is the face of your draft, I just think something's wrong. Something's off. I give him a C. I think Rager's fine. I have no problem with Rager.
Okay.
I'm looking at the draft in their entirety. I give them a B. I think they did a solid job filling some needs. I'm not really high on Kayvon Wallace. I'm not really high on Hightower from Boise State. I think he might have been a little redundant. That could have where they could have, tried to grab some need, especially since they went and took Goodwin. So I still give them a B as far as a solid draft. Like I said, Taylor and a couple of them other guys on the offensive line could really develop.
Sorry, Mike.
I got a B.
I gave him a C plus because the Rieger pick is fine for me. I mean, he's had a little more upside. I can see where people are coming from, though. He wasn't the guy they thought was going to go there, but that's fine. But the Jalen Hurts thing, you drafted a guy that's not going to play, and you need somebody to fit in there at the second round pick. And that's just my opinion. I think the Wallace pick down is they did a fine job picking the rest of the draft up, and that's why I gave him a solid C plus.
Moving on to the perennial bottom dwellers of the division, the Washington Redskins.
Hold on. Did we hear what did Ant and Mike give them as far as grade wise?
I said B.
I have to go with a B plus because I like the first 2 picks a lot.
Well, yeah, you're high on Hurts, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm really high on Hurts. I think he's going to be very good. I think he's going to be starting sooner than later. I don't care, if obviously it's a tough pill to swallow for some people, and I like Wentz. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but I think Hurts can eventually be better here.
A team that's been looking for a lot for many years are the Washington Redskins, who ended up with the number 2 pick in the draft, and they took Chase Young. That wasn't really a surprise to anyone, but was anyone surprised that they made this pick versus trading it down, given the fact that their football team is basically a large Swiss cheese slice?
They were taking him. He's from the area.
He's the best player in the draft.
Yep. You make the best player. You make it work somehow. I mean, he's a beast off the edge. So yeah, I would have taken him too. I think after the fact, after that way, they went downhill in a hurry with some of their picks. I didn't really like their draft that much at all in the way of the need. Some of the players I don't really know at the bottom, but I don't think they had that good of a draft.
Well,
I think the problem here was they picked at 2 and then they didn't pick till 66.
Yeah,
and they had a big gap between picks. Which, Brian, to your point, or whoever said it, maybe they should have traded. But I mean, at that point, what are you showing your franchise? I mean, you have a guy, you have a shitty owner who just does whatever he wants to do year after year, coach after coach, quarterback after quarterback. I think Haskins is a terrible quarterback. Probably shouldn't have drafted him last year. But you go from Chase Young to Antonio Gibson, then Sadiq Charles. I mean, the picks were mediocre at best.
Mediocre, yeah.
So, I mean, if I had to give him a grade, I'd probably give him like a C, maybe.
And like you said, Mike, they had that big gap. I mean, a team of need like the Redskins, you got to find a way to get somewhere in there to get somebody to make an impact. I mean, you can't just sit on your hands and just wait for 66 to say, all right, well, this is the guy who's sitting here. Let's take him and then go from there. I mean, they did themselves no favors.
8 picks and they didn't even try and trade or move around or do anything.
Nope.
See, the way you touched on a little bit, Velarde, on the Redskins draft at the point I was going to bring up. I think Redskins screwed up their draft for this year, last year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, really, they should have been announcing Tua's name on the card at the 2 pick because their defensive line is already stacked. Trading back, obviously, if they could have found somebody to trade with, it's easier said than done. I mean, talking about the players that they did pick, though, obviously Chase Young, I think he's going to be a stud. I like Sadiq Charles out of LSU. I mean, hopefully, we'll see what he can do as far as replacing Trent Williams and whatever they could do solidify that offensive line. Antonio Gibson, the 66 pick at running back. Running back isn't a direct need for him, which is a little surprising to see what they actually do with. You have Darius Grice there, who's a power runner. You have Adrian Peterson, who actually played pretty well. I don't know if he's going to re-sign or not. Chris Thompson is actually a little bit more similar to Gibson, so they're probably moving on for that. That's what they simplify, but. He's that receiving running back. Sleeper is the Liberty wide receiver Gandy Golden, who has some potential, but hasn't thrown the ball. We'll see with that. The pick that I really like is Khalid Hudson out of Michigan. The kid can play everywhere. I'm not trashing their draft. I'll give them a B- for the players this year that they did pace because they did get Chase Young, who is the best defensive player in the draft, most likely. So you can't kill them, but they're still going to be trying to recover from the Dwayne Haskins pick, year in and year out.
And I know you had an opinion on Antonio Gibson. If I'm not mistaken, he was a guy you were talking about a lot as the draft was going on. I'm not sure exactly if it was positive or negative, but they did take him in the top of the 3rd round. What was your read there?
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic pick. I really like Gibson a lot. He's raw, especially for the running back position. Didn't get a lot of carries, so to speak, in Memphis, but great receiving ability. He's kind of a weapon, almost like a poor man's McCaffrey kind of, but obviously not that good. And then you got, like I mentioned, or like all of you mentioned, they got Chase Young, the best player in the draft, in my opinion. So they're trending in the right direction with Ron Rivera and that defense they have. If they can just get the offense together, they're going to be decent. They need the quarterback, obviously, but it was an okay draft. I give it a B. They got some decent players.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Just to say that they wasted this year last year, I think is so true. Because again, I believe in drafting for need, but if you're not going to contend and you can look into the future a little bit, you kind of have an idea like what's going to be there. You can plan for that. They force-fed Dwayne Haskins there. And Dwayne Haskins stinks, and that's the problem. If Haskins,
we knew that last year.
We the second it was made, nobody I don't remember anybody saying, "Oh, this is going to be a great pick for the Redskins."
And as Trammell did point out, I think Ron Rivera knows that, and because as soon as he was named the coach of the team, Kyle Allen was kind of in the back seat with him. You know what I'm saying? Like I think he drove to Washington from Carolina with Kyle Allen in the back seat with him. And Kyle Allen's a kid that I really like a lot. So yeah, Haskins' days could possibly be numbered there. But here's the thing, Brian. You always talk about best player available as far as need. Defensive end was not anywhere near a Washington need. So are you going to bash them for the Chase Young pick?
If there was not a deal on the table, and we went through this in depth, if there was not a deal on the table, which I don't believe for the life of me, that there was not a deal on the table for who I agree was the best player in this draft to move down and spread the wealth, they've gone defensive line, I want to say 3 of their last 4 first-round picks. Counting Young now. So, like, at some point, like, you need to, like, fill your team out. I'm not doubting Young's talent. How many games did they win? 4 this year?
About that.
Let's call it 4. They're going to win 5 next year? Because you have Chase Young? It's not, supremely talented player, but not going to make a difference. To me, it was a no-brainer for the Skins to trade down. I would have traded down twice. I would have convinced Detroit to trade up to 2 and then traded down to 6 with LA for their quarterback to jump the Dolphins. That's what I would have done. I would have absolutely traded down, filled out the rest of my team, got a ton of value. Maybe somehow, some way, the football gods will shine down upon you for your screw up with RG3. But it's just because of the Haskins pick, you couldn't go quarterback here. Major bed, live in it. I would have traded down and filled it. Because, again, I think they're the same exact team next year. And you're exactly right. Is Dwayne Haskins the next Josh Rosen?
No, I would Rosen.
He's that good.
Yeah, exactly. I would put Rosen in there way ahead of him.
I don't even think he's that good.
No.
So, Brian, to your point about obviously they've taken defensive linemen the last 4 drafts. Are you going to let Ryan Kerrigan or Montez Sweat, who they have on the roster currently, deter you from taking a guy like Chase Young?
But I've already put that pick in it. I mean, how much resource am I going to put into one spot over and over again? Am I going to trade Sweat now? What can I get?
Kerrigan's got to be in his 30s, and then Sweat's good, but I'm not going to let him stop me from taking Chase Young, who's projected to be, in my opinion, better than anybody they have currently.
I think most people's boards, Chase Young was the number 1 player on the board.
Right.
I mean, if the watch, let's put it this way, hypothetical, because we did talk about the best need before, I think in our pre-draft show as far as needs. If Washington gets the 1 pick instead of the 2 pick, do they take Burrow or do they take Chase Young? Neither are needs.
Right. Good question. Probably Burrow.
Yeah, I think Ron Rivera packs up Dwayne Haskins' shit and says, "Have a good day," and bring on Joe Burrow.
And this is the thing. I mean, had they gone with a Tua or a Herbert at 2, right? Nobody really blames them because they have a new coach in there. They're coaching their own guys, which is why I brought in Kyle Allen. Dwayne Haskins, I think, is not long for. I mean, if he doesn't succeed this year, how long is Ron Rivera going to give him on a leash? Probably very little.
Brian, Arizona last year, new coach, Kyler Murray.
Yeah, but that's different because that's a quarterback tailor-made for the coach. If that's a coach you're going to bring in, I get it. Just don't bring in that coach. You have to just upheave everything. But to me, I just think it's
same thing.
You're just
don't bring in Ron Rivera.
Ron Rivera brought in Kyle Allen, which didn't cost you anything. Any last thoughts on the Skins?
I thought it was a solid D. Whatever. They got some decent players that I mentioned, and Chase Young, obviously.
I want to congratulate Jeremy for being right for the first time in 6 years.
6 years,
at least. I'm giving. I just forgot anything after that.
Interesting.
I'm hopping off. I joined for the NFC East fun, but guys, enjoy the rest of the show.
Anthony, thank you very much.
Got it. See you guys.
We are moving out.
Yes. We have part-time sports box members on our show.
We are moving out west to the Arizona Cardinals, who got a guy at 8 that many, I think, thought would go at 4, and Isaiah Simmons, a linebacker from Clemson. Galetta, I'll start with you. So if you look at this team, they came into this draft with a lot of needs. They definitely obviously needed to go to fix that defense because that was an absolute sieve last year, and Isaiah Simmons fits that. Just your thoughts on how this played out for Arizona.
I thought the Cardinals had a really good draft. I gave him an A-. Isaiah Simmons, I mean, he was the best linebacker there at that spot, I believe. Coming out of Clemson, I think he fills a hole for Arizona in a way of stopping the run. then they went second round with offensive tackle Josh Jones, who's another good player, from Houston, who I had going actually a little bit earlier than now. I think a lot of us had him on our mock board going up higher. So I mean that, and I'm going to try this. Is it Leaky Futu?
Sure. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll go with it.
You're the master of this. Is that?
I'll go with it.
Yeah, Fonto. You're good. Defensive tackle from Utah.
Yeah, I mean Utah always brings out the defensive guys, so I like that pick as well. I mean after that they went another defensive tackle, linebacker, and running back. Clemson, I mean Arizona, I think hit on some key marks for them. They really went on the defensive side of the ball where they needed. I mean, are they loaded on offense? No, not really, but I think they have enough that Murray can, play well in that offense.
Hold on, timeout. How much more loaded on offense do you need besides DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, and Kenyon Drake absolutely friggin' annihilated teams when he got there? I mean, what player are you going to draft that would benefit them there? DeAndre Hopkins, they bent Bill O'Brien over and then took Hopkins.
Who's their tight end? It changes every year, I think.
Who's that?
Who's the Cardinals tight end, though?
Cardinals tight end? Good question.
I remember is Ricky Seals-Jones, but I think he's gone.
I don't know who they are.
Not coming off the top of my head, but, what are you going to do?
Velarde, your thoughts. What did you think about? I mean, Mike, to your point, Josh Jones was by someone to go in the late first round. To get him in the 8th round of the 3rd round, the 8th pick of the 3rd round, I think is a coup, and I think it's a great talent and a great value for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think Simmons. I don't think they thought Simmons was going to be there at the 8th pick. I thought that they could have went right tackle at the pick that they had at 8. But like I said, I think them sliding down, Simmons sliding down to them at 8. I mean, I think it was a no-brainer for them to take him there. Like you said, Quig, the skilled position guys, I think they were good with them, and I didn't think that they really needed. It wasn't a need for them to take them there. But them getting Josh Jones, I think that they hit pretty good on their first 2 picks. I tell you what, if they could find some consistency in their offense, I think they're going to be. I mean, getting DeAndre Hopkins is pretty consistent. I think that they're going to be okay.
Another year with Kyler Murray at the helm too.
Who were they 6'9" or
5'10"
5'10". I mean, that's not bad for a first-year quarterback and a new head coach. Not bad.
Here's the thing with Arizona. I'm kind of torn on what grade to give them. Okay, yeah. It's anywhere from an A to a C, to be honest with you. And here's why: Isaiah Simmons, flat out stud. He'll probably play that hybrid linebacker safety position. Jones, where they got him, was great. Fatu, Lawrence, both solidified that interior. Weaver from Cal, he makes a lot of tackles. He's all over the place. A little undersized, but he is a run stuffer, and he'll be a guy that's going to be banging with them San Francisco running backs all the time. Eno Benjamin, the kid from Arizona State University, Herm Edwards' old prodigy. Listen, he is going to be a really nice fit in that offense and complement Kenyon Drake very, very well. The problem I have here, all those players listed, not one defensive back. They had the worst or the second worst secondary in the league last year, and that is with Patrick Peterson. They did not address that at all. So when you're talking about need, their biggest hole coming into the draft was secondary. Now, you can't pass up Simmons there, and they didn't – I don't think that – what was Jones was a 3rd round pick, right? Not a 2nd round pick.
8th in the 3rd round, yeah.
And that's a huge value there too. But 4th round pick, you have 2 4th round picks there. I think one of them had to be a position where you get somebody to solidify that secondary, because there were, I don't know off the top of my head what defensive backs were available there, but they should have addressed that need with at least one of those picks. So but the fact that I like every player they drafted, but they didn't fill a huge need, I'm torn. So, I mean, I guess between an A and a B, an A and a C, you're looking at a B, and we'll see how they develop.
I'm going B+ myself.
Mike?
I give him an A.
I have an A-. I thought that they did fill important needs, and I think getting Simmons, other than it fitting a need, also was just a great pick at that spot. Not that I necessarily like linebackers, but he can be, again, that hybrid guy. So, yeah, an up-and-coming team. I think I'm pretty comfortable giving them an A. Going over to LA to the Rams. Now, they did not have a first-round pick because they went and traded for Jalen Ramsey. But what they did have in the second round is potentially filling the hole that was left by Todd Gurley picking Cam Akers out of FSU. Galetta, you are the resident FSU fan in this group. What was your thought on Akers going in the mid-second round to the Rams?
Cam Akers is obviously I guess I like the pick there, Cam Akers. For their draft, I gave the Rams a C-. They really are in cap hell. I mean, they had to dump a lot of guys this year. Brian, we talked about that last year on our show, how many problem they have in their cap. So they really had to decimate the team. But they took the Florida wide out in the second round, Van Jefferson, edge rusher, and Terrell Lewis. Then they went Terrell Burgess, safety. They went a lot of linebacker, which surprisingly they went a kicker in the seventh round. Not surprisingly, but usually nowadays they sign kickers free agent wise, but that's fine. I think Cam Akers was their best pick, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know that much about Van Jefferson. I think he was and Quig will probably back me up on this. Van Jefferson's probably a pretty decent player for Florida. I don't think Florida had that good of a year, but it was a need, a wide receiver. I just don't know if they hit on all the right spots. I mean, I gave him a C-.
When
Cam Edwards is a short guy too, so Cam Akers, I mean.
When Van Jefferson was drafted, I mentioned, on the broadcast that he fills in that Brandon Cooks role very nicely. I think he's going to fit in perfectly well with Cooper Kupp and Josh Reynolds over there. And they're not going to miss a beat with that if they could get some blocking, as somebody just pointed out. Cam Akers, it's a position in need, but I'm not 100%
I don't know if it's the right fit.
That I take him over Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, I think, is a better prospect. He's a better back. He does a little bit more, as your number one back. I think taking Akers over Dobbins is a mistake. Their edge rusher with Terrell Lewis and their safety with Terrell Burgess, I like them. I think they're both solid players. They come from big-time programs. I mean, Utah has been solid, even though they're kind of out west a little bit. Terrell Lewis really is one of them guys on the outside that just sets that edge and, really can take, set the tone and eat up some of those hard running teams like 49ers. Overall, I'm not in love with any of their picks, maybe except Van Jefferson, but the Rams are in a position now where they kind of reap what they sow for selling their soul to the devil a few years ago for completely buying in. And with Arizona getting better, Seattle's always 30. They might be in for a big fall.
And you have a first round pick in 5 years, right?
Yeah, and all their own doing.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike.
No, you're good. I wasn't in love with their first 4 or 5 picks because I think their offensive line's a disaster. I think, especially because their quarterback's awful against the pressure. I mean, and you see that if they get blitzed, I think he's one of the worst quarterbacks against the blitz because he doesn't have that 5 wide receiver set to throw to anymore. Because, I mean, look, you take a running back in the first round. Why? Because you lost Todd Gurley. I mean, is that really why you're round? And like you said, Quig, I thought that their best pick, if you're going to give a best pick, Terrell Lewis. Out of Alabama. I mean, he's a good edge rusher. Did I think that they really needed to go defense? I mean, they went 2 skill position players. I mean, in the first 2 rounds. Did you really – in their first 2 picks. Did you really think that a Sean McVay team was going to go defense with their first 2 picks? So they go offense. I mean, Van Jefferson, I know you like it, Quig. He went to Florida. I guess I think that was for the Brandon Cooks pick. I think that was the pick that they received for Brandon Cooks.
Van Jefferson was the pick, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in love with that pick. I think that they probably took him because he was one of the ones left on that board. Like I said, I wasn't in love. I think that they had other needs, especially linemen to protect Goff. I'm going to give them a D in their draft.
I want to address this question from Drew, is if they're going to trade Ramsey. I don't think you can. I think you gave up so much to get him. You didn't even have a run. They didn't make the playoffs. So I think you just kind of have to hope and pray that what you have can get you to the playoffs again, and then hope you can catch a fire. Because, I mean, listen, you gave up 2 first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey. You got 1 more next year that you don't have. And it's like, where are you supposed to fix this? You're already cutting guys. Brandon Cooks left them with a huge cap problem for this year specifically. Gurley's now gone. I mean, you're right. They sold their soul to go on that run, and they got to the Super Bowl. They didn't win because of their offense. And now I just think, it is what it is. And if I'm Sean McVay, I'm probably like, I don't want to be here right now. I'd be looking for a job, because I don't think any team in the NFL is poised to go like the compass is like dead south any more than the Rams. And I don't think you can trade Jalen Ramsey. And I think Jalen Ramsey might not want to sign there, actually, when his contract is up.
Well, for what like you said, Brian, for what you gave up for Ramsey, you got to keep him at this point. I mean, you can't just you get rid of him too. I mean, you might as well just deteriorate the whole team as they already did.
I gotta disagree with you guys as far as that you have to keep them and kind of let them there. Listen, at one point you got to stop the bleeding, cut your losses, whether you get something for him. He's not resigning there. They're not going to be a good team, okay? And we're talking about a quarterback team, a team led by a quarterback that was the number 1 overall pick a couple of years ago. So Ramsey there does nothing for them, nothing. They're in San Francisco's division. They might play the Rams and not even pass the ball one time against them. I mean, they'll just beat them up. They did nothing to improve that. Jalen Ramsey on that team is lipstick on a pig. They're not going to help out. If they gave up a ton for him. They'll give him a ton of money. If they could find somebody to get some kind of value for him, because none of us expect them to be a very good team. If they start out the season 3-7, 2-8, whatever, 2-6, and they're not competitive, you have to move them to get whatever you can for them. And hopefully they're moving them to Dallas.
Any last thoughts on the Rams, the Lambs?
Yeah.
Next up,
well, hold on. Real quick. Rams draft, Sean McVay. He did the Cribs episode. He definitely was stunting on that. I'll tell you that.
I gave him a C. I didn't like their draft that much at all.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Make it D.
San Francisco, active team. They traded around a little bit here. They moved down in round 1. Still got the guy I think they wanted in Kinlaw, who is, I guess, going to be the replacement for DeForest Buckner. Came back. The pick for me that I remember that I thought was weird was the trade up to get back to 25 to take Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State. Now, the reason that I say that, and I'm going to go to Velarde with this, it's a wide receiver deep draft. You don't have a lot of draft capital to begin with, and you're trading picks to move up to go get a receiver. And you look at some of the receivers that went in the top of the second round, whether it was Michael Pittman Jr., which was awesome, by the way. We just had his dad on last week, and T. Higgins. Was Brandon Ayuk worth a couple of later picks to get him over some other guys? Velarde, your thoughts?
I was actually watching. I don't know if any of you guys seen it. The call with Gruden. It was the rookies getting the call from the Vegas Raiders, and I watched a little bit more of it. And they had the Niners making their call, and when they got to 13, when the Niners were up, and they took Kinlaw. When they got to Ayuk's pick, when they traded it and then came back, they said, we wanted to take you at 13, but the D tackle was there, which meant Kinlaw. They were going to take him at 13.
Wow.
If Kinlaw was not there, which I thought was, you still had Ruggs on the board. You still had, because Ruggs went next.
Right.
So they were going to take him as the first receiver.
Yeah.
That's what they told him on the phone.
So
they really liked him.
They could be lying.
It's funny you brought that up, Velarde, because not only did they really like him, they've come out and said that was their number 1 receiver on the board.
Absolutely.
Which I find that hard to believe. Now, John Lynch since said, how close him and Herman Edwards at Arizona State are, and great, and just kind of really boviating over the kids to no end, and how Herman Edwards is one of Lynch's best friends and all this other stuff. If you just look at the player itself, now last year they took Debo Samuels, then they took Jalen Hurd. Ayuk is extremely similar to both of those guys. Extremely similar. There's no complimentary, and to trade up to the back of the round and get them, I think it's very questionable. Now the player himself, I don't have a problem with. I think he has some potential, but I think it's just one of those value-based drafts where they just completely whiffed on it.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, he might be blowing smoke because to tell the kid what he wants to hear. But for him to say that, I mean, you had Lamb, that you still had all the wide receivers there. But listen, they got their guy. They wanted to trade up and make sure they got him, and they did. I mean, you could see they only had 5 picks in the draft because they traded away 6 and only got 3 back. So
Trent Williams from
well, and that helped, obviously. Them getting him, they pretty much traded 6 draft picks to get only 3 back because I think they knew they were going to sign Trent Williams.
Right.
So that was good. I mean,
being a Bucs fan, I knew that they got one over on the Bucs. I mean, John Lynch, hey, listen, he's doing it right. He's putting the team he wants out there together, and they're a really good team right now. And taking Kinlaw, moving down a spot with the Bucs, getting the value that they got, and getting Kinlaw is not a bad thing. And like you guys said, Brandon Ayuk in the next pick with Arizona State. I mean, I think it's a little bit of a reach to move up and get him, but listen, I think San Fran's going to be very good this year. They addressed a lot of needs, and I gave them a B- for definitely a good draft that they had.
So here's a question for you guys: when we're grading this draft, we have to include Trent Williams, the acquisition, in it. I mean, and that's really what kind of. I mean, you had Kinlaw and Williams. I think that's a very, very strong.
But look at the one thing look at everything that they added. They added all offense except for Kinlaw. I mean, and what's the one thing that they really had trouble with in the Super Bowl?
Completing passes to open receivers.
Absolutely. I mean,
they didn't draft a quarterback in the second round, though.
Garoppolo was the issue, but what I'm saying is weapons. I mean, really, he was having trouble finding people, but Trent Williams will help, obviously. I mean, and he'll obviously have more people to look at now.
That's what I'm saying. Without the including Ayuk in there, and they also, don't forget they got rid of Matt Breida too to Miami and picked up a pick, which wasn't a bad move as well because he's just redundant there. I mean, just them to I think they do have a very good draft. I give them a solid B.
Yeah, that'd be plus.
Lynch has really done a phenomenal job putting this team together the way he's wanted to. I mean, hats off to him with everything.
And give him a compliment. I mean, Raheem Moser just goes off. I mean, he looked like Eric Dickerson. I mean, he was a practice player on the Eagles a couple years ago.
Seriously, it's amazing the guys that go there, and really just produce quite a bit. Last but not least, out west, the Seattle Seahawks, who I just want to note, they actually made a first-round pick. Congratulations to them on this wonderful achievement. Interesting first-round pick, though, and this just seems to happen. Like I don't know if Pete Carroll's just an asshole or if he just thinks he's smarter than everybody else. But Jordan Brooks at the bottom of the first round, I thought was very high.
With Patrick Queen still on the board.
Yeah, that's what I found shocking.
I'm convinced they don't know how to draft in the first round. Like they've lost it. When you go back to Rashad Penny a couple years ago, which was just an absolute waste of a pick. These guys that they've seen, and they're always like around this area. Like I think Bruce Irvin was the last guy they picked, 15 or higher. I for one thought they had needs on their defensive line, on the interior defensive line. They did not fill. Needs in their secondary, they did not fill. I don't know. I didn't think they needed a linebacker. So I don't know. Quigley, I'll let you go. I thought their draft was pretty terrible. All in. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I'm looking at their draft pick now. Now, Jordan Brooks, how they're trying to sell that is that and it has been said in a few things that Jordan Brooks is the best tackler at a linebacker spot and blah, blah, and he fits their scheme. But at the same time, he might have been there at 48 when they took Taylor out of Tennessee at the defensive end. So that's a huge if, Patrick Queen probably from top to bottom is a better player, more consistent. So if they thought that linebacker was a huge need, scheme fit, there could have been some other guys, maybe not as touted as Brooks that could have been had in the third or fourth round if they're just looking for scheme, but to pass up was some of those players. I thought that was questionable. I do like Damian Lewis from LSU, and I do like their fifth round pick, Alton Robinson from Syracuse. Alton Robinson should never have been there in the fifth round available for him. So I think that they, he is one of the better straight pure pass rushers in the draft. And to be had in the fifth round pick, like I said, like Brandon and I and a few of these other guys on the defensive line, they draft. For some reason, defensive ends dropped this year. So I think those two picks kind of saved them a little bit. Kids like DJ Davis, Swain, Sullivan from the LSU, I mean, they have a very small chance of making a roster. I would give them a C, C minus.
I think that they overdrafted very early. Like Quig said, these guys should have been there or could have been there. You got to draft a kid like Patrick Queen still on the board. Yep. Jordan Brooks and Taylor may have been there, and another round or so after that. I'm giving them like a D. I mean, they overdrafted, and they didn't even draft for need, really.
Yeah,
I was very surprised with their draft.
I had him coming in. I needed everybody on the defensive line, interior, exterior. I needed a wide receiver, and I needed a guard, something on the offensive line, and safety help. No T tackles, no safeties, and they didn't really address anything. I mean, linebacker just wasn't a need for me. I didn't really like the pick at all.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, when you talk about linebacker was a need, they really only play one true linebacker on the field at the same time. So
Patrick Queen would have been great. Jeez.
Yeah, that's where I give him low marks, is because we all thought Patrick Queen was going to go to them at that, but they took Brooks instead. When they got to Damian Lewis, I like the Damian Lewis pick because there's a guy who protected the number one quarterback in the draft. So you got to give him, props for that. He had a good year. After that, Quig, you said it best. There's mediocre guys. Some of them probably won't even make the roster. I gave him a D as well. I mean, because I just thought they should have drafted Patrick Queen, and then after the Damian Lewis pick, they really dropped off.
Yeah, I was not a fan. Do you remember Mike Galletta in the Super Bowl when the Atlanta Falcons had a 25-point lead, and then they didn't have it anymore?
Unbelievable. I think I remember that vaguely.
I have thoughts about it. Yeah. This is an interesting spot for me, right? And now that Ant's not here, so he can't yell at me. I have no idea why the Eagles didn't pick at 16, because the way everything played out. And again, I'm going to stick on this, and whether I'm right or wrong, time will tell. If Jalen Hurts was a difference between the Eagles getting Lamb with this pick for Atlanta at 16 or taking Rager at 21, I think that's a mistake on the Eagles. Because I say that because I think A.J. Terrell was overdrafted. Yeah, I think A.J. Terrell would have been there at 21.
So are we on the AFC South now? I mean, NFC South now?
NFC South, yes. So in Atlanta first. So to me, I didn't like the Terrell pick. And this is another team. They were going to be so aggressive, the Atlanta Falcons. They were going to go up and get all these people, all these trade scenarios. Never materialized. They came in with needs on defensive and they didn't address. No linebackers, because this could have been a Simmons guy had they moved up. I mean, Terrell's not a bad player. Not the 16th pick in this draft. I like Davison a little bit. But, Craig, I'll go to you here. For all of the rigmarole of how aggressive they were going to be, you didn't move up. And then when you took your pick, you took a guy who probably would have been there 5 picks later at a team that probably was talking to you about making a deal.
Yeah, the everything I hear and read and researched about Atlanta is they were caught with their pants down with this pick. They were not prepared to make the pick. When Kinlaw got scooped up, they had no clue what to do. They panicked. And they took a cornerback that shouldn't have been taken there. I don't know if that has to do with a little bit of, not being able to trade down, not working out a deal with somebody or whatever. Because I know they couldn't get something done with the Eagles. Maybe it was just how the draft set up was, being virtual and everything like that they were kind of like throw them off. But from what I hear, they were not prepared to make this pick at all. Which is really mind-boggling in this day and age. An NFL team not prepared. I think if they had their choice, we could just forget about round one altogether, because I do like what they did in the second day with Marlon Davidson and Matt Hennessy. Marlon Davidson is one of the better defensive ends available at this point in the draft too. I mean, they got him at 47, and Hennessy is a really solid center, so that kind of fits need. Michael Walker is a tackling machine from Fresno State that I like. After that, they drafted a punter. I mean, how excited can you get even in the 7th round? You don't draft punters. So they too with Davidson and Hennessy, they hit on. I'm going to give them probably the worst draft grade I have is probably D-, because you cannot be prepared, unprepared in this day and age for your first round pick, no matter what happens in front of you.
Yeah. I was listening to WIP, which is probably a mistake.
I never do that.
This week in the car, just going around town. But
did it hurt?
No, but the topic came up about the Falcons pick, and a guy from Atlanta called up who was a Philadelphia sports writer, and he said he talked to Thomas Dimitroff, and he said, who was the Falcons GM, he said that the talk was that they wanted to move up in the draft, but they couldn't find anybody to move up with them.
Yep.
So they had to stay at 16. They asked the Eagles if they wanted to trade, and they did not want to move. They wanted the Eagles' 2nd round pick, and the Eagles did not want to give it to them.
Right.
So that was the sticking point. They wanted 53. The Eagles didn't want to give them 53. Obviously, they were going to switch 21 with 16, but they didn't want to. Therefore, like you said, they were pretty much screwed because they were in a tough spot. The top 2 corners were gone. The defensive tackles were off the board, but they wanted to trade down, but they couldn't. So what do? They have to take Terrell because there's nobody else there. So
here you're spot on with everything you just said, Velarde. But the one thing that I'm going to disagree with how the Falcons handle it is they did have an option to trade back. Okay, no one would have criticized them if they traded.
Not with the Eagles. They could have traded with somebody else.
No. They could have traded with the Eagles. The Eagles say, hey, we're not giving you 53. Okay. Right. Then if I'm the Falcons, well, you know what, though? Terrell's going to be there with the Eagles pick. Right. Trade down. You don't need that second. Okay, you're not going to give us a 2nd round pick? Okay, how about your 3rd and a 2nd next year, or 3rd and a 3rd next year, or 3rd and a 4th? Like, there's more options. For them to be bullheaded and say, we want your 53, and that's it. It cost them, and now and they called it with their pants down, and it's a horrible way to do it.
Take Alshon Jeffrey from us. You can have him.
I don't think that's feasible. Not with that receiving core.
When you start a draft and what Atlanta needed, and you start off like that, not really knowing who you're going to take, that's the recipe for disaster. But like Quigley, I like Davidson from Auburn, and I like the kid from Temple. I heard a lot of good things about the center from Temple, but other than that, they didn't hit any key points that I think Atlanta needed to make a splash this year. I don't think they're in total rebuild mode, but they needed to do something this year to plug some guys in there on defense, and I don't think they really did that. I gave him a D as well, a solid.
I gave him a D.
I got him at a C-, and I think I'm being nice. I like their day 2 as well, Quigley. And Terrell's a good player. He's just not the 16th pick in the draft.
Well, here's the thing, too. Everybody, let's talk about – you want to talk about Terrell specifically? Most of the people that watch, they even though they love Clemson and everything like that, they don't speak specific. Terrell got abused by the LSU wide receivers. Yeah. Abused.
Also,
he couldn't defend them on the ball. He couldn't press them. He couldn't beat them at the point of the attack. He couldn't do anything to stop them. But he's a high first-round pick that you go, nah.
That's why if you remember in the highlights of him, they didn't show any games against LSU.
Carolina, I thought, had a really, really, really good first couple of rounds. They end up at 7 with Derek Brown, the D tackle out of Auburn, who I thought could go as high as 4 to the Giants. They took Yetur Gross-Matos in the top of the second, who many had considered a day one pick. Jeremy Chin was a guy who I know you and I quickly thought might end up in Dallas at some point. They got him right at the end of round 2 by trading up. I'll start with Galetta here. They went defense heavy, and I'm okay with that. Because
that's an understatement.
if your offense is just going to be hand the ball to Christian McCaffrey and throw the ball to Christian McCaffrey and, hey, where's Christian McCaffrey? Then fine. Work to fix your defense. And I think, Matt Rule, that's all that they went. There was no offensive fix in the draft for them.
Yeah, but they hit on some big guys, and I think that's what's going to make this draft for Carolina pretty good. Derek Brown, like we said, Brian could have got him a little bit. He could have been a higher pick, but he fell to them, which is a great pick. Gross-Matos, another guy who they thought was going to be a little bit higher than he was. And Jeremy Chin, you guys talked him up. You could have sworn he was going to Dallas. You liked the kid. They went heavy on defense, but listen, if it pays off for them, it's going to be paid dividends for them. I think maybe they should have taken a wide receiver, maybe. The way this draft was, they probably could have taken one a little bit later, but I think he did a good job. I gave him a B, and even though Matt Rowe is there for his first year, he's doing what he wants to do in defensive side of the ball. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Quick, before you go here, just my thought here. Do you get the feeling that the Bridgewater era is like just a bridge to the next guy? Like that they're looking to just take these first couple of years here, the first 2 or 3, the 3 years basically that he signed, and just build everything else and then top it off with a drafted quarterback?
I mean, I think ideally, even if you look at the team and how bad the Panthers are going to be, they're going to be in that Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields sweepstakes. So we could be talking about a situation, I don't know, unless Bridgewater comes out and shows that he is the man, and that's them fighting for a playoff spot and their defensive improved and everything like that. I think that the Panthers are definitely going to be, in the top 5 next year, and I think they're going to be staring Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields right in the face. And Bridgewater, I think if I did read the contract, they do have an out the way it's structured. So I think they're only kind of responsible for him for 2 years at best, and so it's kind of like a win-win situation for the Panthers, in his contract. But yeah, he the way it's structured, it does look like he's just a bridge.
Yeah, I don't really know what to take of Teddy. I don't know. I don't know if it's the Saints, being in a dome. I don't really know. I don't know what to expect from him this year. I guess I don't know if it's Matt Rule. I got to see. What do I think of their draft this year? I don't know. Derek Brown, obviously he's going to be good. Future Pro Bowler probably. To me, I think he's more of like a stud run stuffer than an elite pass rusher, in my opinion. Spending on a top 10 pick, we'll see. Gross-Matos, I think that they got a pretty good value pick for him, obviously. More of a first-round pick, kind of just fell into their laps. The Chin pick, I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be pretty good. And Troy Pride, obviously I've seen a lot of him at Notre Dame. I think he's going to be pretty good. I think he's, average, above average. I think he's going to be. He should be pretty good. But I'm going to knock him a little bit for not taking one offensive player. I think it's kind of weird just to take all defensive guys. But it's not that I didn't like their draft. I'm going to give them like a C+ or like a B-. I'm not going to go crazy for them. But I thought it was good, the draft.
Galetta, your grade? Did you give a grade?
I gave him a B.
The thing with the Panthers, that I really liked Brown. Their defensive draft I think was very good. We talked about Yetur to the Cowboys a lot, but I don't know if he's a great fit right here in Carolina because he's more of a run stuffing defensive end, and I think the Cowboys were looking at him to be that hybrid 3-4, 4-3 where they could kind of mix him in and out. So I don't know if he's going to have the success in this system as he would in another system. But him and Derek Brown, they're really nice. They could be a really nice scorer. Jeremy Chin, athletic, off the charts, character, off the charts, everything. He just needs experience and see if he could adjust to the level. Tony Pride should be solid. But listen, we haven't even mentioned probably one of the most interesting stories in the draft is Kenny Robinson, drafted out of the XFL.
Right.
If he didn't leave West Virginia, he's probably a higher draft pick than 152. And you're talking about like a safety that might even been higher. So instant injection in Matt Rule's new Carolina Panthers defense, which they needed. Offensively, DJ, Moore's fine out on the outside. Curtis Samuel, they could have added something there. I think might have helped them. But their offense goes from McCaffrey. They just gave him that money, and he's going to have 100 catches again next year, and everything else.
Well, here's the thing: if you think you're going to make a change at quarterback in the next year or two, then maybe you wait until you get that guy in there to draft guys that you're going to make. You might be changing your offensive system entirely. You don't even know to fit the quarterback that you're going to have. So if you're not going to, you just might not want to draft offensive guys that may or may not fit a system that you might be changing to. You don't really know. It's a unknown. So they went defense heavy because that's more of a certainty, no matter what the quarterback is. And I think they brought in Bridgewater just to get Cam the hell out of town. I don't think they're in love with Bridgewater, but it's, again, pardon the pun, a bridge to something else. It gets Cam out of there and fills it with someone.
But on the flip side, you're paying that money for Bridgewater. You want to make sure he stays upright. You don't want a guy who's been injury prone, had a major injury, to go down again when you're giving them all this money. It wouldn't have hurt to probably, like you said, Brian, off the side of the ball, maybe a lineman. I thought wide receiver, but offensive lineman probably would have helped the cause a little bit if they needed it.
Well, and the division they're in too. If you're looking at their offense, they're not going to be scoring with the teams. Tampa Bay, Atlanta, New Orleans.
Have to slow them down.
so you better beef up that defense and try to win a 10-7 game. That's really the only thing that they have a chance to do.
Could have drafted Kelvin Benjamin in the first round.
Yeah, that guy. He's put on some pounds. Last I heard,
a little bit.
Next down is, we brought up the Saints a little bit. We'll go there. So they did not have a first round pick.
They didn't have many picks.
Four picks.
Four picks.
About that, I'm thinking of the other draft they traded with Green Bay.
Right. Yeah, they did.
They took Cesar Ruiz, the center out of Michigan. Was this a touch early, guys, or was this kind of where you thought he'd go?
Oh, he definitely early. Even though he was projected kind of at the back end of the draft, I think for what they're doing, for what he projects, they're talking about maybe playing guard too. That is a little bit of a surprise that he goes 24. But he is, he is a stud. But it's a pick that you like, but with only 4 guys, you're talking about center guard as your number one first round draft pick. It's a little puzzling. So, well, it might be a tad early.
I mean, I think they, for the amount of picks that they have, I think they pretty much hit on the first 3. I mean, if Bond doesn't fail a PED test, I think he's higher than what he was, obviously.
Right.
But they hit on their. I think that they hit on their picks. I mean, interior lineman, linebacker, tight end. I think that they kind of got Trautman at a pretty decent value for where they got him. I mean, I think he probably could have went maybe 15, 20 picks earlier, maybe, because the tight end started going off the board, and they pretty much got him for a nice value for where they got him. I have the Saints at an A-. I think with the amount of picks that they had, they really did pretty well.
Wow.
I'm in that B+ range too, I think, just based on that. Like you said, I mean, they didn't really have a lot of capital to work with, but again, Blount was supposed to be a first-round pick. Could have been. It wasn't. That's fine. Trautman could have gone earlier. Tommy Stevens is Tommy Stevens. But, if you like Ruiz, you targeted the center, are you going to play games that much? How much further down could you have gone? I wouldn't have minded them trading down if they could have got him later and added more capital. But, Mike,
I'm sorry. Do we have any word on what the contract was for Winston today? I know it was one. I know what is. Did they sign it? How much it was, or I saw it was 1 year, but
I will look into that.
So they signed Winston, they signed Taysom Hill, for whatever.
They gave Hill a lot of money.
Yeah, they did. The thing with their draft is too. I think Trautman is going to look good in that offense.
Oh yeah.
So his value is like, oh, he probably could have been taken a round earlier. Braun is the wild card to their draft. Is he a player that is actually a player that just did a little bit of enhancement, or is he a product of his PED use and might, go away? That's going to be a key, because he could fizzle out very, very quickly, or he could be actually a good player and say, listen, that was a tremendous value. Ruiz, whether or not it was a little bit early, is still a solid pick. I have them at a B-.
Yeah, Ruiz, like you guys said, a little bit of a reach, but it's fine for what they needed as center. Vaughn, we'll see. It's a good pick if it pans out for him, because from what I hear about him, he's a really good player. And same thing with Troutman. Now I'll ask you this: Jameis Winston signing there for 1 year. Possibility Winston could be the successor to Breeze next year.
I don't think that's going to happen, but
I don't think it will either.
That's just my opinion.
No. This is absolutely on the table. If he goes there and plays well with that coaching staff, and he's going to learn so much from them.
Mm-hmm.
It is, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
He's got the inside track. I would take him right now.
You would think. Yeah, you would think.
My opinion.
Yeah, I gave the Saints a B.
I think about Winston. He beats the Saints. He beats the Bucks this year, one game.
That'd be something.
That would be something.
All
I know is I'm happy he's on another team now, because now he can throw the Bucks some balls. So,
speaking of the Buccaneers, they got a guy who, Mike, I'm going to start with you, obviously. They got a guy at 13 who could have gone 4 in Tristan Wirfs, the tackle out of Iowa, and that was a huge need for them with Brady coming in. How happy were you? Because if I remember the show, you were pretty moist at this moment.
Yeah, real quick. Mike, before you start, isn't it funny how you can throw 36 touchdowns and throw for 5,000 yards? How hard is it to get a job in the NFL? I'm just saying. I know he threw 30 interceptions. Yeah. But how hard is it to get a job in the NFL? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I knew he was going to sign somewhere. It's just funny he stayed in division. With the Bucks, and listen, not just because I'm a Bucks fan. I'm happy this year because I really think they did themselves a lot of props this year in their picks. I mean, I know in my own opinion, they got bamboozled a little bit, having to move up a pick and get rid of a second-round pick. But listen, they got their guy. Tristan Wirfs is an offensive tackle that was up there. I wanted Wills from Alabama, but listen, I'm not heartbroken they got Wirfs because he's a good offensive tackle as well. Antonio Winfield Jr. from the highlights and the one game in a bowl I did see of him. His kid looks like a player. His dad played for Buffalo back in the day, so hopefully he's got those NFL genes and he can transfer over to the NFL. And Keyshawn Vaughn, I don't really know that much about him as a running back for Vanderbilt, but right there they addressed 3 needs, and that's what I've been looking for with the Bucs for a while now, looking for the drafting for the needs more than the best available player, because it seemed like when the Bucs went best available player in the past, got them in certain situations they did not need to be in. So on the whole, I think the Bucs had a really good draft, along with the offense they got in the offseason with Brady, Gronkowski, along now with Evans and Godwin, and they're ready to go. I think this year, this is the year they're going to hopefully make a big push. So
that's the thing. All right, so real quick about the Bucs draft. Christian Wirfs at 13. You shouldn't have liked that. You should have loved that, Galetta. All right, that was completely amazing. To get the number 1 potential tackle in the entire draft at 13, you don't see that happen in the NFL too often. Yeah. The second round pick, Antoine Winfield Jr., if we all remember his defensive back dad over at Minnesota for many, many years, and Buffalo. Listen, he's 5'8". He's miniature, but he probably is the best safety in the draft if he was 6 foot. Which it's gonna be interesting to see, how he overcomes that. It could be a phenomenal pick, or it could be somebody that's going to be a disadvantage, because 5'8" is extremely small in the NFL. Keyshawn Vaughn is a kid I've seen a lot play at Vanderbilt. Because he had, like I said, I played college fantasy football. He was fantasy relevant. He doesn't do anything great. He doesn't do anything bad. He's okay, and he's older than Ronald Jones. He's old. Bucks need coming into the draft would be a running back. Absolutely. Somebody that could push Ronald Jones, maybe a little, take the top off a little bit better. Keyshawn Vaughn isn't that guy. He'll push Jones for carries. He'll be solid, but he's not one of them guys that usually look spectacular. Tyler Johnson, though, can play that slot. From in Minnesota, he really showed a lot. And we all know how Tom Brady likes to use his slot weapons. I mean, he made guys like Deion Branch and Edelman millions and millions, Amendola and these guys, made them millions and millions of dollars hitting at the slot. And he can play. He is a player, and I think he'll be good. The rest of the draft, Chappelle Russell made a lot of tackles attempts, but I mean that could be neither here nor there. Grade wise, I really liked 3 of their first 4 picks, so I'm gonna have to give them I'll give them a solid B+.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Wirfs, you got to love that pick in the slide down to 13. Yeah, they did trade up to get him one move, but obviously they wanted him, so they wanted to trade up that one spot.
He's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Winfield, like you said, small, but he struggled covering tight ends and the deep balls last season. It was a solid pick, though. Like you said with Vaughn, I wanted to touch on that as well. He I don't know if this is a good or bad thing. He's going to challenge Ronald Jones for that starting job. But like you said, very replaceable level prospect. Not many quality people, NFL starters, come from Illinois. So, that is a concern. But listen, the offense is stacked, okay, on Tampa Bay. So, besides Corey Dillon and guys in New England, what guys from New England were really that trademark starter? Garrett Blount, who were some of the other running backs that New England had that they just threw out there? That
Lewis.
Yeah, seriously, it doesn't really matter. You put a guy in that offense, and they're going to do fine at running back. So it really doesn't matter. If you have Tom Brady with the ball in his hand, he'll make somebody look great. It doesn't matter who you have behind you right now.
I think it's going to make Tyler Johnson look well. I think Tyler Johnson in this offense here, that there's again, this is where they took him is fine in the 5th round. You can augment all you want to, and I think he's going to be a really, really good player for them. And I think as a guy not expected to really obviously shoulder any sort of load, why not? Give Tom more tools.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's not like you need a guy behind you to get 250, 300 carries. It doesn't matter at this point. 12 is going to have the ball in his hands, and he's going to find 5, 6, 7, 8 weapons a game.
But if you want to write essays,
He's what?
I don't know who that is. I gave him a B+.
B+.
Really well.
Yeah, I like their draft. I have them as an A actually. I think they did very, very well. And again, Wirfs at 13, stellar.
I think, yeah, absolutely. But the thing that I want to say with the Vaughn pick, and you're talking about Brady and the Patriots offense and everything like that, he bring that. That's what was really surprising, that they didn't get that John White type of player that to incorporate in their offense in this draft. I thought it might have been a kind of like a Cam Akers or Gibson, Antonio Gibson, who we were talking about earlier, that was picked by the Redskins. I thought they would be good fits in that offense.
We move over to the NFC North as our last division of the night, and we go to the Chicago Bears, who I think just drafted another tight end. Velarde, Cole Kmet. Tell me about Cole Kmet. Is this a good spot for him to go?
What do you mean? They have 10 tight ends. I mean,
they do have a ton of tight ends.
Play, right?
Listen, what is that? He's 6'5", he's 255. I mean, he was a 2-year starter at Notre Dame. Listen, he had it's hard. It depends. It all depends on the system that he's in. Listen, Trey Burton went there. It all depends on how you get this guy the ball. I mean, do they incorporate their tight ends very well? I really don't. It's a shame. I don't know. He might go there and they might waste him. I don't know. Is this somewhere where you take the 43rd pick with him? I don't know. How do you make this pick after investing so much in the position the last couple of off seasons? I don't know. You just put Jimmy Graham there. I don't know.
I think it's pretty shocking at 43 a tight end win, especially him.
I really don't know.
I mean, that's the lowest a tight end has gone in quite some time too.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that their second pick at 50 was their best pick of the draft.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That was their best pick. I mean, granted, I don't think they should have took that pick first. I think they should have got better value for somebody else. I just don't know what makes you think that, let's take a tight end with our 43rd pick. I just don't. Why?
When you're stockpiling tight ends.
We talk about their stockpile of tight ends, but tell me a good one that they have.
Right, they're not good. Jimmy Graham was good 5 years ago.
No, I hear you, but like, is it something like where they think they're going to go to Foles? I think the writing's on the wall for Mitch.
They're talking about not even picking up Trubisky's option.
Yeah, I think he's out.
He's done.
And it's a problem. I mean, that's when you use that pick and you blow it.
He's done.
Mike, you've been saying this for 3 years now. I can't believe you got all that draft capital to move up one spot, and then this is what you take. When the two guys that went after later in that draft, and Watson and Mahomes make it that much worse, it is what it is. I agree on Jalen Johnson being, I think, their better pick. He's a guy I thought that might fall to the Cowboys, but I'm glad he didn't because I actually prefer Trayvon Diggs. The Cole Kmet pick is just questionable. I don't know what the hell Pace is doing here. Like usually with these teams, you kind of have like an idea. I don't know what they're doing at all.
Yeah. I can't even. I don't know. I mean,
like you said, Mike. I like the Jalen Johnson pick. I mean, that's a kid coming from Utah again with a defense that always does the right things. I think the Bears blew it on the first pick with the tight end. After that, Quid can probably attest to this. Tulsa defensive end, Traylon Gibson. I don't know that. I haven't watched a lot of Tulsa. You probably seen much more Tulsa than I have. I don't know much about them. Seems like a bunch of average guys after that. I gave Chicago a C.
I mean, Gibson is a player. He's got some potential. He's a project, though. He might not make an immediate impact, but when you got Khalil Mack there in the same position, you're not really expecting for him to step in and play game one. As a player, listen, tight ends in this draft, besides maybe Allo that was picked over in Denver, I really wasn't a big fan of. Troutman was late too. That's where these guys should have went. Clement was way too early for the Bears. We talk about how many tight ends they have. None of them are good though. They literally have 10 tight ends on the roster now, and they have maybe one guy that you could say that's a player, and he's the rookie they just drafted. Jimmy Graham's done, so I don't know what more that they're thinking of getting out of him. And Jalen Johnson, they're a man without a plan, really. It seems like that they're kind of everywhere with it. They're not in the best division. I mean,
spinning their wheels. I don't know what they're doing.
I don't know if they have a game plan up there either.
I think Jimmy Graham could be a good player. He just got a shitty attitude, and wherever he's going.
Listen, Jimmy Graham's done though. It's over. Jimmy Graham experiment's done. He's been on his 5th NFL team, and it's not even about attitude because he actually had played decent in Green Bay a couple games last year, but he just doesn't have the ability that he once did.
That trade to Seattle really. I mean, they didn't even throw him the ball. He just went downhill from there.
He really floundered there, and then he's been kind of like, I guess, a journeyman ever since. Any last thoughts on the Bears?
The Bears suck.
The Bears. I give them C.
But thinking about teams that suck, the Detroit Lions with the 3rd pick in this year's draft. Here's another spot, guys, that I really want your take. This is another spot where you could have traded out. And again, here's what I think. And really, before we get into Detroit specifically, do you think the fact that there were no physical visits, like what happened was the teams at the top of the draft, like top 10, they just like laser focused on their guy that they thought would be there for them, and that's who they went with? Because that's a lot of the only reason I can think of a lot of these guys that didn't move, that there wasn't any kind of deals going on, because there was this talk weeks leading in of like how much activity there would be. And I think the fact that no one had a chance to really meet people, it's like you apply to one college, you get it, you go.
I don't think that really hurt people by not going out there. I mean, these guys, they do their scouting and stuff beforehand. They know what they're going to do. I think coming in maybe it could have affected one or two guys. I don't think a majority, though, it hurt a lot of guys or helped them.
I think it hurts more of the communication between the teams because there was so much concentration trying to communicate within their own organization, making sure they could talk to their own GMs and their own people, whereas some of that communication between the other organizations was lacking a little bit. So to do stuff like trading up, like the debacle in Atlanta, trading back, like there was, a lot of speculation from Detroit, but then Detroit came out and said that all that pre-draft people were trying to trade up was all bullshit because they said no one reached out to them to try to trade with them. Now, I don't know if they tried to trade back, but with that said, I think they actually had a very, very good draft. Mm-hmm. I really like what they did, especially with their first 5 picks. Okuda, I don't know if he would have been my pick. I kind of liked Brown there. I think they help a little bit immediate need, but secondary was a need too. And if that's their guy, listen, you can't, argue that. DeAndre Swift, some have him as their best running back. I think he's a good fit there. Interesting fit with Kerryon Johnson, but Kerryon wasn't healthy last year too often. So I mean, it's definitely something. You're talking about hedge your bets if you get a much better player at that level. Okwara from Notre Dame is definitely an edge player that they needed, and Jonah Jackson and Logan Stenberg from Kentucky. They got 2 of my favorite guards in the draft. 2 guys that could just come in there and just beat people up. Stenberg is an absolute animal. He's an animal. The kid is just mean. He's your throwback football player. The classic guard, the big ugly as you speak. So I like what they did. After that, they got some speed at one of the receivers, but it's kind of unremarkable. But I would give them a solid B plus actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of went the other way on this one. I disagree with you a little bit. The Okuda pick I liked. A couple rumors that I heard were that Detroit didn't return the phone calls. Apparently, teams wanted to trade with them, and they didn't want to hear anything about it. They wanted Okuda, and that was it. They didn't want to hear anything about it. I honestly, and hopefully, we don't have to deal with Mr. Swift because I didn't really like the DeAndre pick. I just thought that Kerryon Johnson was there. And they didn't need him at that pick. I thought they could have went elsewhere, but I didn't even like him at that pick. I thought that they could have went somewhere else, a different running back if they were going to take a running back with that pick. Okawara, like I said, I watched Notre Dame. I liked that pick. The Jonah Jackson pick, like I said, I'm not as high on him as you. I know he was a first team All Big Ten. He's already 23 years old, though. Not that matters. They're saying he's profiling as a backup, which means he'll likely start for the Lions. And Stenberg, you said you liked him as well, right?
I really do. I mean, he was one of my favorite guards. Him and Danny Pittner that in Baltimore take.
He's saying he's 6'6", but they're saying the taller he is, it might hurt him, but he should be okay. They're saying he's very good. I haven't seen him play much, so I don't know. He's from Kentucky.
Right. And listen, if you're a guard in Kentucky, first of all, Kentucky's not very good. The next thing you know is that he's facing LSU and Alabama and these guys almost every game. They're outmatched, and he's battling with them. So that's why I said I really like him as a makeup of a football player.
Yeah, I'm on the C minus range for them. Just because the Swift pick, like I said, he not that I didn't like the running back pick. I just thought that they could have went somewhere else with that. I'm not sure how he fits with Kerryon Johnson, but not terrible. But I like it. But like I said, they made a trade. They traded 85, 149, and 182, and got 75 and 197, and made a couple other trades as well, which I thought was okay because they didn't trade 3, like you said, like Brian was saying. If they trade 3, it might change their draft a little bit, but I thought picking Okuda there was fine for them.
Yeah, I'm a little more bullish on Okuda itself. I liked Okuda at that pick. I think he was the guy they targeted, and they definitely wanted him no matter what the situation was. The DeAndre Swift, Mike, I'm with you. I mean, he's going to a situation where they already have Johnson, and why are you taking a guy there when you can go a different way and a different need? So I give him points up for that. I do like Okara from Notre Dame. And Jonah Jackson is fine for me at Ohio State. Other than that, I mean, it really didn't impress me in the way of their draft for what they did. I give them a C, solid C.
I had him as a B because, again, I in a perfect world, they move up to 2 to get Chase Young because Chase Young fit what they needed much more than he fits the Redskins. Mm-hmm. That's why I thought there was a deal there that even if you had to, again, 3 for 2's been traded before, right? So it wasn't that crazy, and I thought that they were better fits for each other's teams. But I thought if you were going to go 3, get the elite corner. You just lost Slay and basically free agency was really a trade, but it was basically free agency because you weren't going to sign him to Philly. So I was fine with that. I think Swift's a very talented player, and I don't know what his fit's going to be in Detroit. I hope he gets a fair shake. He could take the job from Kerryon Johnson. It was not going to Kerryon Johnson the picture of health.
If he gets hurt.
And here's the thing, too. We know too. Kerryon Johnson missed a few games. 6-7 games last year. Yeah. He had knee surgery. That takes time. I mean, and they know his medical a lot better than us do. So this is kind of a red flag for Kerryon Johnson. Really,
I think he's got 1 year left on his deal too, if I remember right.
If his knee isn't right, he don't.
He can have no time left on his deal.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, that's a really red flag right there.
Universally believed, I think, to be the worst draft from everything that I've read was the Green Bay Packers.
I'm agreeing with
that. Yep.
This was, it isn't necessarily so much. So here's my thing on Jordan Love, right? I don't have any issue at all with a team planning for their next quarterback and the opportunity. It is my personal belief that Aaron Rodgers is elite for the next 4, potentially 5 years. Right? Well,
absolutely. Okay. So let's calm down on that a little bit, right? Let's say 3 years. Sure. Even if he's on the short end, if he's still elite for 3 years, what are you doing with Jordan Love?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Absolutely nothing but wasting a draft pick.
Listen, this is not like the Eagles with the Wentz thing. That's just
Where's Hav at?
I tried to get him. He's not answering his text.
That's how bad their draft is.
And
the Packer analyst and the Packer fan won't come on this show because their draft was so bad.
Didn't they give up 3 picks for him to move up?
They did move up in the draft.
I'm reading a lot of things, and they're saying that A.J. Dillon is the worst pick in the draft.
Yes, thank you. Well,
listen, he is the most replaceable person in this draft.
he is literally very similar to Keyshawn Vaughn.
And listen, and you have Aaron Jones there, and I know Brian T. You're going to start with his.
He had a great year last year, though. I mean,
I know.
So did Jamal Williams.
No. What he's going to say is, AJ's due for a deal. I don't want to give it to him.
We know. We know.
That's fine. You
don't pick AJ Dillon in the second round when you could have probably got him at pick 100 when you pick him at 60.
Right. That's what I say. He's not a top 100 pick, and you pick him early. And so let's say worst case scenario, right? You're not going to re-sign Aaron Jones. You don't re-sign Jamal Williams, who are both left. Okay, you still have him for this year. What do you do next year? You have a draft next year, right? So just take a running back next year. Very simple. Sign a free agent running back.
Yeah.
They have problems.
It was just questionable all over, right? But stick here on Love, right? Wentz and Hurts, I think, is just a weird situation, and I really do think that I am right on that he is just the most expensive insurance policy in the NFL. That's how they view it. This is Aaron Rodgers staring at his tombstone with his name on it. You drafted his potential replacement because he's older. Like, the writing is now on the wall. There is
it's not like he has 1 or 2 years left. He's got 4.
That's where I think that they're just trying to outsmart themselves. Yeah. You have this runway with this guy. They could have won the Super Bowl last year. They could win the Super Bowl this year. How do I not use this pick to help my team right now?
Yeah.
And on top of it,
Who drafts a 6'2" tight end? Tell me.
it's not even that, Mike.
A
There's what was their primary need coming in?
A wide receiver.
Wide receiver. In the deepest wide receiver draft any of us can ever remember, they didn't take one.
Yeah, and they had multiple picks too. They have a lot of picks, and they didn't take any.
I don't get it. And the stat that I read, Aaron Rodgers has one. It's Tony. Go ahead. It's yours. I'll give it to you. That trivia question.
It's mine.
Yeah. Well, you brought up.
Yeah. What one touchdown to a first round pick in his career, and it wasn't even somebody that the Packers drafted.
Yeah.
If any of our listeners out there know who it is that he threw that one touchdown to, Brian Attardo sent him a Starbucks gift card.
Yeah, I actually don't even care. Comment if you know who the first round pick was that Aaron Rodgers.
And while you guys are doing that, I'll tell you
Put that on the board.
The Packers' third round pick.
Oh, he was coming in with that hot. He was coming hot on that one.
All right, hold on for a second. While you guys are doing that, the Packers' 94th, the 94th pick in the draft. Okay, they selected Josiah DeGuara. Okay, he is a tight end from Cincinnati. Okay,
That's all is it, Mike?
You ready for this? Tight end from Cincinnati. Okay, he was invited to the Senior Bowl as a fullback. That's who they picked. That's who they picked as their tight end.
It's funny because I asked Hav, and I thought that they needed a tight end. I think that this is always the thing in Green Bay. You got to get a tight end. And he said they really like Jay Sternberger, who was a second-round pick last year. That makes the DeGuara pick even more questionable, in my opinion.
So how about that? Aaron Rodgers just got a new fullback. Cool.
I mean, Green Bay, they really laid an egg this year. They really didn't do anything right, I don't think. I mean, I think without doubt, this could be the worst grade of the draft we give them. I mean, they didn't hit on anything, really.
I don't think it's worse by a mile. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And when they called John Runyon, he hung up on him.
Oh, really?
Did you hear that one?
No, I didn't hear that one.
He was texting, and when the call came through Green Bay, Wisconsin.
He declined it.
Decline button by accident. So they had to call him back.
Wow.
Great. Well,
go ahead.
Their draft, I think. Listen, we touched on Jordan Love, absolutely horrible. AJ Dillon, absolutely horrible. And Dillon was very productive at Boston College, but he just doesn't click those boxes. There is an H-back. What's that?
3 years. He's got 820 carries too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was a workhorse there, and I believe he did have an injury 2 years ago, if I remember correctly. So it just really scratches your head because, like you said, Williams, Jones, they're good. They had a great year last year. Both of them complement each other well. They were very creative in the offense. Very good. I did like the Kamal Martin pick at Minnesota. I did like the Runyon pick, and I did like the Hansen pick. The interior, the tackle Runyon, you know, I watched him a lot at Michigan. He's a player. He shut down everybody's favorite boy, Chase Young. You know, a combination. He didn't do it all himself, so let's not get too crazy about that. But it's just
he's probably going to play guard in the NFL.
Yeah, he has that makeup too. But this goes. I think them and the Eagles are a different situation, but both of them are in the same with the quarterback wise. But both of them are in the same situation where they're playing for their teams that are going to the Super Bowl or trying to get to the Super Bowl, and they're just throwing away weapons for their quarterbacks. And I mean, you could have took any other position besides quarterback in the first round, even on defense, and there could be some culpability to the whole situation. But it's just a fucking dumpster fire in Green Bay. A lot of melted cheese.
What are the chances that Brady and Rodgers have new teams at the beginning of the season?
No. 0. Rodgers? 0.
What if Rodgers requests a trade?
Then they tell him we respectfully decline.
Well, they just drafted a quarterback in the future, running back in the future.
He doesn't have to play.
I guess what would his market be?
What's he owe them?
I'll give him Dak.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen to Rodgers in the next 2 years. I think he's gonna lose a lot of love in Green Bay.
He's been there 15 years. They haven't drafted him a field position player. What's he on that?
He even said before the draft, it would be nice if it'd be pretty cool to help the offense out.
Yeah, instead of helping him, you hurt him.
To me, the Green Bay Packers logo, actually stands for their grade in this draft. I don't even give it an F. I give it a G.
There you go.
That may be too high.
I gave him a solid F.
Not good. Not good at all. Not good at all. And again, they've given him nothing. That's the.
Can I give an F minus or?
I gave him a G. So you can give him a Q for all I can do.
Do we have Hobbs' take on his draft at all?
Hobbs liked the pick, didn't he?
Fan Hobbs about it. Realistic Hobbs thought they had the worst draft in the league.
There we go.
And here's the thing too, guys. I brought this up where Hurts. Jordan Love was up and down with, like, some people had him at a first round grade, some people had him at a fourth round grade with Fromm and Eason. So it's not only like, when they're gambling for these backup quarterbacks, there is absolutely zero friggin' guarantee that they're actually going to turn into something.
I was surprised Love went that high.
And they traded up to get him.
Right.
Don't forget that.
And if they don't, maybe they get a receiver. I don't know. Could you maybe get the guy some help?
Who starts first, Love or Hurts?
That was
Love.
I think Love, because I think Wentz gets an injury.
So Hurts.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. That's what.
I mean, that's the most realistic scenario is Hurts starts because of an injury.
Rodgers isn't the healthiest either.
No, he's not.
He's missed out.
No, he's not. But
both those guys are project quarterbacks. I'm not even gonna. I think they'll be ready to play this year.
Yeah, exactly. And with the shit going on with the training camps and the virtual this and the virtual that, it's going to be tougher than normal for a rookie quarterback to come in and light it up.
100%. Last but certainly not least, the Minnesota Vikings, who universally had a very, very good grade. And part of that's because they may have made 15 picks in this draft, which is a lot. It's about a quarter of your roster or more. The 22nd pick, and I want to start with Galetta here, I thought was the most obvious pick in the draft. As soon as they traded Stephon Diggs, you knew in a receiver deep draft, which is maybe why they did it, that they were going to go get somebody. And they were the beneficiary of the Eagles taking Rager, because I like Jefferson more than Rager personally. I think he's a phenomenal fit in Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
First, go ahead.
You're good. Yeah, Mike.
No, go ahead, Mike. I'll wait for you. Go ahead.
No. I mocked Ayuk to them, and I got laughed at by a couple people, not you guys. Because I mocked Jefferson going to the Eagles, I was one pick off. But I mean, Jefferson going there is very good for them, obviously. But Gladney going there with the second pick, I thought was good, and then Ezra Cleveland going there, I think, is very, very good for them. With their third pick. I'm going to kind of take a different spin on this. Why the hell do you need 15 draft picks? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to go the opposite way. Everybody's like, oh, well, stockpile your draft picks. I'm going to go the opposite way. Why not use those picks and get better picks at the top of the draft?
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Like, what team did make the team on the back end?
You know what team did exactly what you said?
What's that?
You know what team did exactly what you said, because there's no way they should have 15 picks. The other team who had a ton of picks was Patriots.
Right.
They traded up. They traded up a couple of times.
Right. But at that point, they were doing it at a point. But move up into the third round. You know what I mean? Instead of they had 203, 205, 225, 244. What the hell you need 5 7th-round picks for? What the hell is that going to do for you?
Yeah. What's the realistic that they make the roster?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're wastes. And it's funny because, I mean, the only thing I can think of is if you have you got those guys like undrafted free agents and stuff, and maybe it gives the opportunity to make sure that you get the guys that you want. But I mean, it made no sense. How do you not combine some of these picks or even just put them out the next year? Because you're not going to keep all these guys. So at that point, you waste them.
I mean, your only logic is, I guess, just pick a bunch and hope they stick. But there's going to be 4 or 5, even 6 guys on this draft board that probably don't make the team.
Yeah.
So, like Mike said, what's the sense of keeping all these picks? I mean, I like the 3 picks: Justin Jefferson, Gladney, and Cleveland. Other than that, they were. I'm sure they drafted for need. It looked like. I think they did a good job. I think the picks were very excessive. They should have moved up and got some better players, but
Gladney's going to be 24 years old as a rookie. That's pretty old for a rookie.
Yeah, a rookie nowadays.
Drafted the 26-year-old ones.
Well, he was also a fireman too, so
I was gonna say,
remember that.
Well, it goes back to the fireman.
come back to the fireman.
Fireman.
I think Ezra Cleveland could have been a first-round pick, and to get him where they got him is fantastic. It's at a need. I mean, they knocked every need they had out of the park. Their top 2 needs were wide receiver and cornerback. Got them both in the first round. Great talent there. You got to love that. This was my A+ draft. This was my best draft of the entire league because they hit everything. The volume, whatever. I can't find a mistake other than you took too many guys. And if that's the biggest mistake that you make, I can live with it. This was my favorite draft, A to A+, depending on your grading level. I was happy with that. And I think they did a very nice job.
The first few picks that they had, Justin Jefferson, Gladney, Ezra Cleveland, you guys all, are really high on. Justin Jefferson, I guess he was the best receiver on the board. He's more slot than outside. So I think Denzel Mims or somebody like that there, give him a little bit, something to stretch the field a little bit more. And I'm not completely thinking that Justin Jefferson is a can't miss wide receiver, but at this round where he was picked, it's still a good pick to just see what your expectations are for and playing it off of Adam Thielen. With as many picks that they have, I mean, Cam Dantzler, who you guys haven't mentioned, quarterback from Mississippi State, had a early second round grade by a lot of players, and they was available in the 3rd round. James Lynch, edge rusher from Baylor, he was right there in that whole section of those defensive linemen that really fell. And it's crazy because him, Troy Dye, I mean, their first 7 picks were I think they knocked it out the park, depending how Jefferson pans out. And they also got the Big Ten Defensive End Player of the Year, Kenny Wilkes from Michigan State, which he might be a solid pro for 5 years, and he might not even get too much time to shine. Trading all those picks, though, right? We talk about he has 15 picks. They have so many 7th round picks, so many 6th round picks. It is a little difficult to move those picks. Maybe pawn them off for a year or 2 or something down the road. And there's going to be a lot of free agents, so. They had them. They made them. I'm not going to bash them.
The point is, Quick, I don't think four picks in the 7th round really make a big difference. I mean,
exactly. So how many teams are trading for 7th round picks?
No, but like you said, package them up, maybe move some picks around for next year. There's always creative ways.
All right, Mike, I'm going to give you 3 7th round picks. What are you going to give me for them?
Sure.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying, there's ways to be creative. I'm just saying.
I'm asking you.
You're gonna have to move a 3rd, a 5th, and a 7th, or it's gonna be
it's pieces to other stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. So they're loaded with the 6th and 7th round picks. So I mean, do I give you 2 7th rounds for a 7th next year? Okay, maybe, but then there has to be teams willing to really want a guy to be trade up for a 7th, because sometimes, and we look at past drafts. You're looking at guys don't want. I remember hearing agents, don't draft my guy. Don't draft my guy. Don't draft my guy.
Jason Campani, that's what you get for a 7th round pick.
Yeah, but the thing is like I'm looking at the the haul that they got. Let me see if I can see it real quick. What team we on? What team are we looking at right now?
So
where the hell was it? I was just looking at it. All right, so it was. So they traded pick 105, let's just say. They got 130, 169, 203, and 244. They got 4 picks for 1.
Right.
And then they traded 201 and 209 and got 2 more picks. You know what I mean? So they got 4 picks for 1. So, what are they supposed to do at that point?
Yeah.
So they traded 4 picks away, and they ended up getting 7 picks for them. So it could be tough to trade picks away, but I
just got to take players and hope you hit with them. Really,
yeah. Like I said, I can see the point.
Scratch off tickets. That's all you're gonna do.
Yeah, like Tom Brady years ago.
And Jason with a great point here. They have as much because again, you got your UDFAs. But the question, I guess, to that is, wouldn't you want to be sure you get the guy that you want? And I don't know how many teams these guys actually talk to, but it seems like right when the draft's over, like just the UDFAs, like it's just like a deluge. So there has been some conversation, obviously, but there's no guarantee. Listen, Tony Romo was supposed to be a UDFA that went to the Saints. He signed with the Cowboys.
How many do each teams get? 10 or 12 third sign?
I actually don't know the answer to that.
I believe it's 10.
Yeah, because there was a huge list of each team getting it. I think there's 10.
I think you get 10 rookie UDA.
Okay.
Which yeah, I mean, but no, there is definitely communication between the teams and hey, don't take my guy. There's a lot of that conversation going on. They don't want to be that 7th round draft pick. They want their free, and obviously they don't have to honor that, but whatever football agent, Clutch Sports, who's now in the football, they might have a top prospect. They might have, say, Christian McCaffrey, right? And they're going to ensure you don't want to create that negative relationship with the agent. So you're going to throw them a favor. All right, we're not going to take them. All right, you already have a deal over there. We're going to take somebody else. And that's kind of just like the back end business side of it.
Right.
That brings us to the end of the NFC. If you had to pick a rookie of the year from the first round picks, is it definitely
Rookie of the year? Rookie of the year.
I guess an offense and a defense.
You're hitting me with something I wasn't prepared for right now.
Well, I'm going to say right now, I think it's very possible CeeDee Lamb's the offensive NFL rookie, the NFC rookie. I don't even know if that's an award or not, but I'm just saying I think it's very possible offensively that he becomes.
Yeah, it's an award.
The NFC rookie of the year offensively, just like okay. I think it might be Lamb. I think they're going to force feed Lamb. And I think that again, they're going to make sure they get their value out of them.
All right,
I think by default it's going to be Burrow.
No, NFC.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking I'm thinking number one pick. Let me reassess here.
You thinking about it? Did I put you on the spot? I'm sorry.
No, I'm thinking of the picks in order now. Let me look at this real quick.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think CeeDee Lamb is definitely making noise, but I think production, where they took him, I think everything screamed this is DeAndre Swift is going to get the ball. He's going to get the ball a ton. Out of the rookies just in the NFC, I would think he would be my favorite to be NFC Rookie of the Year.
Mike?
I was thinking DeAndre Swift as well, only because you don't know the health of Johnson. I mean, he's been hurt a bunch last year a bunch, and here's a guy who could prove his worth and get a good opportunity. So yeah, I'd go with DeAndre Swift.
Oh man, it's quick.
Do you just not want to say Lamb because you thought you were going to?
No.
What?
How if I say Wirfs?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, guys. Listen, look at opportunity.
I got one.
So Rager's going to be up there too.
Dude, this is
Jalen Hurts?
No. Dude, there's not even that many to pick from.
No, there's not. I mean, unless
All right. I just want to go somebody different because I don't want to pick Lamb.
Right.
I'm gonna be that guy.
You want to be spiteful.
I'm gonna be that guy.
Spiteful.
I'm actually gonna go because I do think they're gonna force feed this guy the ball. I'm gonna go Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
Because I do think Cousins is gonna force feed him the ball big time.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, again, the only
because I think he will be his Stephon Diggs.
Well, Diggs had a problem with his production last year because that precursed all of this.
But it depends if they go run heavy. But is Thielen going to be his guy? But listen, you're talking rookies though. I mean, how many rookies? I mean, look, you have what? Ayuk, Jefferson, Rager, Lamb.
Mims.
I'm just looking at the
Let
first
me
round.
ask you. Let me ask you guys. Let me pick your brain, right? Because
I'm just looking at the first round board. You know,
in the last 10 years,
yeah.
NFC offensive rookie of the year. Okay. How many times do you think it was a receiver?
Probably not a lot.
Twice.
One
Yeah.
time. Odell Beckham. It's either quarterback who's going to come in and start, or it's a running back that gets opportunity.
Yeah, but do you see any of these rookie quarterbacks coming in and starting now?
I don't see an opportunity for a rookie quarterback to come in and start unless you're talking about a Hurts or a Rodgers injury
Right.
or somebody coming out of the blue, for whatever reason. So that's where kind of the running back that is going to get the most opportunity, I think, is Swift, and I think that's kind of the logical thinking. The other thing too, are you guys not worried about receivers, rookie receivers? It seems like that it was always a thing. It took receivers 2 or 3 years to actually develop. I mean, when you're looking at fantasy football stats and that kind of stuff, there's always the third year receiver is when they take out. It seems like it changed a little bit, where some receivers are having a little bit more impact recently. Could be because of some of the rules, but doesn't that worry you guys a little bit?
To a point, this draft is so heavy with guys that would be. I mean, you could really have made the case, right, that either Lamb, Judy, or Ruggs could have been a number one receiver in the past couple drafts at receiver. Like, this was just such a deep draft that there's 3 guys that legitimately, in different years could be the big one. So that's I think where I'm coming from is I think Lamb's landed in a situation where he can be productive immediately. Because I think that they are going to force feed him the ball. And I think that he's surrounded by a lot of offensive talent, despite the fact that I think the quarterback stinks. That's my personal opinion. I would love to be wrong about that more than anybody in the world.
You think he has more opportunity? But I mean, there's a lot. I mean, we've talked about Lamb though, but how much? There's only one football in Dallas.
I know.
Zeke needs the ball more than he had last year. Cooper needs the ball, right? And then you got to mix in either Lamb or Michael Gallup.
Jarwin's
going to be mixing. That's what I'm saying. Like it's not. I might have even Rager ahead of Lamb in that thing because they're going to be looking to get him the ball a lot because he's really the only playmaker that they have outside of Miles Sanders.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts as we wrap up the NFC draft grades? Are we doing AFC on Thursday? Did we
Sure.
That's fine.
Sure.
Last thoughts about the NFC draft. Eagles will be happy they passed on Justin Jefferson for Jalen Reagor.
But they won't be happy that they took Jalen 3.
Listen, you got to just let it play out, man.
What do you think? Do you really think we're in the trust tree here? Nobody can yell at you. Do you really, really, honestly, do your heart of hearts think they brought him in to replace Carson Wentz? Seriously. Because I don't. Jason, rate the Cowboys. I think they were A's all around. Were they A's all around for Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I give him a B.
You're a fucking idiot.
They were day 2 and on was awesome for them. I mean, even if I have my reservations.
Why does he get so mad?
I don't know.
I'm not mad. I don't understand why you call me a fucking idiot. But
You gave him a B.
Disagrees with your
You're the only person in America.
I think I gave him a B plus. Maybe I gave him an A. I don't know. I don't remember what I gave him.
Give him an A now. Hand out the A. Go ahead.
A.
There it is.
There you go. There you go.
You asked me a question about Hurts.
But here's my thing, and I want to end the show with this. I didn't want this to overwhelm the first part of the show, and it's just us talking now. But
I'm overwhelmed.
Nothing to me indicates anything more than they've been burned not having a capable backup. So they want to groom one that can be there for the period of his rookie contract. They think that they'll be able to trade him for at least what they paid for him. And if Carson decides to walk or gets another injury that he's out for, I mean, maybe he decides to walk from the injury just because we have insurance. I just think this idea that there's this like tinfoil hat plan to, get Wentz out of town a year after signing a $100 million deal, and we're going to give the ball to Jalen Hurts, and Ant and I have gone back and forth on this. I'm not going to change his mind. He's not going to change mine. I look at the Eagles front office as not that bright. Generally, their drafting is pretty bad if you look back the last couple of years. It really is. So do I think that they're smart enough to put together this elaborate, labyrinth of things that get them to a point where they can trade Carson Wentz, keep all that dead cap, which it's still dead cap. Nobody can. You're just getting some of the discount. You're trading in the car underwater. You're still rolling it over. So I don't buy that. I think if you were going to make this decision, you don't give him the deal last year. If you have any reservations at all, you don't give him the deal last year. You pick up the 5th-year option and you go from there. You can franchise him if you really want to. You control him. Without that, that's what, to me, Mike, and you guys can just chime in as we end the show. He is an insurance policy they're going to groom with some upside that they can move forward, move something out later.
All right, hold on for a second. You said that let's just take this step by step. What do you mean by start with their drafting is pretty bad?
It's not. It's not good at all.
But let's talk about it. What do you mean? How far are we going back to talk about this?
I mean, I sent this. Hold on. I have it on my phone. I took screenshots.
Are we going back like Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson? Like how far are we going back here? Because they've hit on some pretty good ones.
Hold on. I must have deleted it. Eagles.
All right. Well, last year, let's remember that Miles Sanders is pretty much the only one they hit on. Dillard.
Well, we don't know. He's got to start far left hand.
So last year, obviously, it sure looks like Arcega-Whiteside's a bust.
Okay. Listen, it was his first year.
He couldn't get on special teams, bro.
He's not going to play
special teams player. That's a whole different type of player.
But he couldn't be used there.
Well, he's not going to. He's freaking a bean. He's a beanpole.
Listen, if you want to talk about last year's draft, Dillard and Arcega-Whiteside are to be continued, but did not have a good rookie season.
Right. That is correct.
Miles Sanders is a player, plain and simple. He's a player.
They drafted Clayton Thorson in the 5th round and walked away.
That was bad. That was bad.
Right.
Go back to the year before. Goddard's fine. Wasn't really in need, but he's fine. Maddox is playing. Nobody else is. Josh Sweat. What's Josh Sweat? I mean, I'm not even going to.
Could have been a first rounder that year.
I know. Yeah, the first round. The 17 draft was god awful.
Say the players are.
Derek Barnett.
Okay, what do you mean god awful? He starts. He's okay. He's not great.
They just picked him up, right? They just extended him.
Sidney Jones. Russell Douglas.
He's still playing.
Mac Hollins.
Terrible.
Humphrey. Shelton Gibson, Nathan Gary, and Elijah Gould.
Not very good.
Like, even before that, I mean, Aguilar and Eric Rowe. I mean, Marcus Smith. I mean, what I'm saying is.
All right, listen, there are some bad ones they did not hit on. But they have guys here who've been here for 10 years that they've hit on pretty good. And listen, not a lot of draft picks are going to be, what are you going to do?
Let me give you a scenario. Let's say right now you woke up. Hey, Mia, you woke up tomorrow and they traded Carson Wentz. Number one, your instant reaction. Number two, it's for picks. Do you feel comfortable having Howie make those picks?
I told you the other day, I think Joe Douglas was a big part.
Yeah.
And I think he did fine.
I don't know.
And we're going to find out.
I'll tell you right now, I pulled up the Eagles drafts in the last 5-10 years. They're a lot, even though they won the Super Bowl in that time period. So that might cover up a lot of the issues. There were some horrible drafts. Horrible.
They've had a couple of bad first round picks, but a lot of their first round picks. Listen, they've had some very good teams though, and they've missed on a lot of 20 to 24 picks. They haven't the picks that they've had high picks on, like number 4, Lane Johnson, 2, McNabb, 2, Wentz. Like I'm saying, those picks, they've pretty much hit on every one of those picks.
Well, they haven't had any colossal bust. That's true.
Like a Marcus Smith. Marcus Smith was bad.
Well, he was 20, but he was 26. Then
No, that was what's his name? That was what the hell?
Freddie Mitchell pick was bad. Like shit like that was bad.
No,
Danny Walker, firefighter.
Not picking.
What's the 26-year-old? Who was a firefighter?
Danny
Watkins.
Danny Watkins. That's what.
And everybody keeps saying, well, they traded up to get Brandon Graham, and that was the year they should have got Earl Thomas. And then Brandon Graham makes the play in the Super Bowl, and then people forget about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's stuff like that.
Well, I don't think. I mean, like I said, once they started utilizing Brandon Graham better, I mean,
Exactly.
and so Brandon Graham was 10 years ago, and he's the only player in the league from that draft still. From their draft, he's the only player that's still in the league.
Really?
Brandon Graham. Everybody else, no one else is in the league. The Danny Watkins draft, no one else is in the league except Jason Kelsey and Deion Lewis. Right? That was. I guess that was. What was that? Chip's first draft?
Yeah.
Or second draft?
I think so. Yeah.
The next year, the 2012, they took Fletcher Cox, Kendricks, Vinnie Curry, Nick Foles, Boykin, Dennis Kelly.
Quarterback factory.
Solid year.
How the hell are you a quarterback factory? You took a 5th round pick last year. He's gone already.
And then they took Matt Barkley, bust. With Lane Johnson, Ertz, great. Benny Logan was
okay.
Yeah. Marcus Smith, Jordan Matthews, Josh Huff, Jalen Watkins, Taylor Hart, Ed Reed, Bo Allen. Horrible. Aguilar, Rowe, Hendricks, Jordan Hicks. I mean, Aguilar, Rowe, Hicks.
Okay, this year. Well, until last year, but
Hicks,
he was serviceable.
That's what I'm saying.
This was the first 2 picks here was good with Wentz and Sayamalu.
Right. Smallwood, Vitae, Countess.
Okay, but
You have to give him some credit for Jalen Mills, although I don't think he's a great player. He is, as a 7th round draft pick, he is a starter or rotation player, you know.
See, the 17 draft looks very bad now when you look at it.
Yeah.
Overall, it looks very bad.
Let's not forget 17 when Sidney Jones was drafted, everybody was like, he was the number 1 cornerback in the draft if he didn't get hurt and everything like that. Well, he got healthy and he sucked. He still sucks. Yeah, that was a lot of smoke being blown up people's asses that I think they're trying to make up.
I just don't think he was brought in for Wentz to go.
So Valari, looking back on these drafts now that you take a solid look at actually who they were, you can't say that they've had a historically very good drafting history.
Well, the only thing I will say is you got to give Dillard a little. You got to give him this year at least.
Well, take last year out of the equation, right?
Hey guys, I got to roll. So
right.
I'll see you guys on Thursday night. Everybody out there.
All right.
Good night.
All right. Take care, Mike. Take the last 5 years, not including 2019. All right. It hasn't been good, man.
15 draft was very bad, and the 14 draft was probably very bad too.
Okay,
the 13 draft.
Mikey, you just said 14, 15, and 17 are very bad. Is that making the point?
Yeah, but I'm saying they hit the 12 draft was probably the best one. 12 in the first half of 12 and 13. I mean, listen, it's probably not very good now that I look back at it, but
that's what I'm saying. Like just
the jury's still out on a couple of them.
Just thinking about it, it doesn't seem like as bad as it is because the Super Bowl was there. But then when you actually kind of look back at it and look at it on paper like that, it looks a lot worse than kind of memory.
I'm not sticking up for any of them. I'm just for the ones that they did not hit on. I'm just saying I think it could be a lot worse than it is, and a lot of their free agent signings definitely helps them out. They're not afraid to go out and.
But Mike, we always joke around, right, that every free agent that comes across the board, the Eagles are linked to. Why?
Oh, of course.
They can't draft to fill the holes.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think that they're like Daniel Snyder and they go out and get the best, the high priced guy to just fill a need. I really think that they get a guy because they feel like they could help.
Wow.
I mean, if you scroll down and look at the Cowboys draft too, it's just insanely good actually compared to
Yeah, it's saving them. I mean, again, I'm excited to see what they do with an actual head coach. I mean, I think the last few years have been wasted with a shitty one, frankly.
The last 10 years?
Yeah.
Tony Romo's whole career?
Yeah. But wait a minute, but real quick. So we're going to get done here in a minute, but go back to the UDFAs, right? So Romo goes to the Cowboys instead of the Saints over $10,000. He becomes Tony Romo.
Yeah.
Don't you think the Saints, if they had an extra 7th round pick, would have just taken him?
I mean, I don't remember the specifics and time period exactly, but I mean, was that before they got Breeze?
But what I'm saying is they were talking to him.
But if Tony Romo goes to another situation, he doesn't become Tony Romo.
That's fair. Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like that. You know, I mean, if David Carr back in the day doesn't get drafted by Texans and he get killed, I mean, he might develop into a good quarterback. I mean, how many, you know, the dumpster fire in the Cleveland Browns, how many careers have they ruined? I mean, a lot of it is situation when you're talking quarterbacks when the talent is kind of similar. You know.
Any last words, kids?
Now you got me looking at these drafts now.
And they're all depressed, right?
Kind of.
Yeah, that's about right. All right. Well, listen, we'll see you all Thursday for the AFC.
Yeah, we'll do it.
All right. Take care, boys.
All right.
Give the Cowboys a B. Kill yourself.